Hey there, want to make your voice heard at a Board of Supervisors meeting? We're all ears. Here's how you can get involved. First, hop online and look at the agendas. This will give you the scoop on what's coming up before the board. Each agenda item includes a brief description of the issue, the recommendations, and potential impacts. If you need more detail, check out the detailed reports online. Those are called board letters. Then, decide if you want to speak at Tuesday's general legislative session or Wednesday's land use session. You'll have 3 opportunities to have your say. Let's start with non-agenda public comment. This is your chance to talk about things that aren't on the agenda, but try and keep your topic related to county government. For non-agenda public comments, you can speak at either the Tuesday or Wednesday session, but not both. So pick your day accordingly. And keep in mind, the board can't act on the spot. They'll refer your comments to the Chief Administrative Officer, who will look into the issue. Last thing, the board will hear from the first 10 speakers, 5 in person and 5 by phone at the beginning of the session. Then all the remaining speakers will get their chance to speak after the discussion items. During the consent agenda, the board handles a bunch of routine items with 1 vote. If you want to comment on an item, keep it simple. For example, I'm John Doe speaking on item 5, and I agree with approving the contract. Discussion items are the main event where the board debates before making a decision. They'll hear from supporters first, then those against. And if you have documents, hand them to the deputy clerk when it's your turn to speak at the podium. If you want to speak, you need a speaker slip. White slips are for non-agenda comments. Turn these in before we hear from the first speaker. Green or pink slips are for specific items. Get these in before public comment begins. And please turn in your speaker slip early. If you don't turn it in before it's due, you won't be able to speak to the board. Now, you get 2 minutes to speak, but if lots of people want to talk, it might get cut to 1 minute. So, you might want to consider writing 2 sets of comments, one for 2 minutes, another one for 1. That way, if time's cut, you won't be scrambling. There's also a countdown clock at the podium to keep you on track. Once you're at the podium, stay on topic. Stick to the current agenda item. If you stray off topic, you might get a gentle nudge to get back to the point. Keep your comments related to the agenda item's recommendations because that's what the board is relying on to make a decision. Also, speak directly to the board. They're the ones making the decision. When your time's up, it's up. Overstaying might mean getting muted or even asked to leave. Now for some ground rules. For safety, keep aisles and doorways clear. If there isn't a seat, head across the hall to room 302 or the 4th floor balcony to watch the meeting. Respect is huge. Everyone should feel heard. That means you, other speakers, and the Board of Supervisors. Disruptive behavior gets 1 warning, and after that, a deputy sheriff might show you the door. So let's keep it respectful. Your voice matters, and we want to hear from you. Remember, we're all here to make a difference.
morning. I will now call the March 11th, 2025 General Legislative Session of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors. We would like to take a moment to acknowledge the land we call home. There are communities in the San Diego region that face unjust conditions and circumstances related to the environments in which they live. The tribal nations of the San Diego region are an example of one community that has historically faced such injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respect to the unceded territory and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most Indian county in the United States. We aspire to learn from indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences in undoing the injustices of the past. Andrew, please call the roll for today's session.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. Supervisor Anderson. Here. Supervisor Montgomery-Stepp.
Here.
Supervisor Desmond. Here. Vice Chair Lawson-Remer.
Here. We will have Reverend Dale Suggs from the Beloved Way Church deliver the invocation. Following the invocation, Bergen Gruskin for the San Diego Wave FC will deliver the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand for the invocation and the pledge.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Dale Suggs. My pronouns are he, his, him. I live on the land of the Kumeyaay peoples, and I enjoy the rights, privileges, and boundless blessings of living and working in San Diego County. I'm the pastor of Beloved Way Christian Community, Disciples of Christ, and director of Beloved Compassion Network, a network focused on compassion education. You may know Beloved Way because of our presence at mental health, suicide prevention, San Diego Pride, and other community events where we gather the prayers of those excluded by church by inviting the most vulnerable in our community to add a link to a prayer chain. Often in the community, we are known as the prayer chain people. This particular prayer chain represents hundreds of hopes, dreams, and really just questions of why, how, help me get through, from people at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, Out of Darkness Walk in October. Representing Beloved Way and the Christian Church Disciples of Christ in the Pacific Southwest, I'm honored to lead this morning's invocation. Let us pray. O God, our beloved, we are servant leaders entrusted with the care of the people, the institutions, and fiscal and natural resources of San Diego County. We have gathered here in these hallowed halls. Our weighty agenda is set before us. Challenge upon challenge upon challenge awaits our mindful and heartful consideration. But before we engage our work this morning, we intentionally pause to ask for your companionship in the journey. We know that every decision we make and every step we take is an answer to your invitation to walk with you. And we know that we will need your persistence, passion, and perseverance to walk your way of healing, wholeness, and peace amidst a hurting, fractured, and angry world. For the truth is, we find ourselves living among a people who love power more than person. For the truth is, we find ourselves living among a people who value wealth over welcome. For the truth is, we find ourselves living among a people well-equipped and trained with weapons and words to belittle, battle, and beat down our neighbors, but unequipped and ill-trained in tools that might help us reach out a hand and lift up our neighbors in compassion. Forgive us, O God, our beloved, when we are tempted to choose these paths, and lead us in a better way. For the truth is also that you have shown us how loving others is the beloved way to healing. For the truth is also that you have shown us how justice-making for others is the beloved way to wholeness. For the truth is also that you have shown us how learning, teaching, and embodying compassion is the beloved way to peace. For the truth is also that you have given us other equipment original equipment, a core deep self filled with extravagant grace, radical inclusion, and relentless compassion, waiting to be released into the world. Help us, O God, our beloved, to recognize this original equipment, this innate potential and prowess for love, this compassionate core deep within us, and in fact, deep within all people. Help us, O God, our beloved, to ease the pain, embrace the longings, heal the wounds, and welcome the gifts of all those who have been entrusted to our care. Help us, O God, our beloved, to listen and to speak and to discern and to decide and to act in ways that confirm our commitment to answer your invitation to make compassion a way of life here in San Diego County and beyond. For this is our prayer, O God, our beloved, and we know that you hear us and will help us, for you are the beloved one, who from your compassionate core names us beloved as well, claims us as your children, and in yes, despite ourselves, delights in us always. Amen.
Thank you. Bergen Gruskin. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We now proceed with the proclamations. The first proclamation will be given by myself and Supervisor Montgomery Stepp, honoring San Diego Wave FC. Accepting the proclamation will be the San Diego Wave Football Club. Hi, ladies. Come up, come up. Hi. Well, I am so excited to give this proclamation today. We go to as many Wave games as possible. My daughter is 5 and really into women playing soccer. Wave FC is a trailblazing women's soccer club, and y'all embody empowerment, resilience, and excellence, making you the perfect example to highlight during Women's History Month. Founded with a vision to provide a platform for talented women athletes, Wave FC has become an influential force in the sports world, showing how women can rise to the top in male-dominated industries. The club's commitment to supporting women's sports is a reminder of the progress women have made in securing spaces for ourselves in athletics, both on and off the field. Wave FC's presence in the National Women's Soccer League is more than just a team. It represents the culmination of decades of struggle for equality and recognition in sports. Highlighting the achievements of players, coaches, and staff at Wave FC during the Women's History Month is a powerful way to honor their contributions to the game and society. These women are breaking barriers, pushing boundaries, and inspiring the next generation of girls to dream big, be bold, and never settle for less. So whether it's through showcasing the skill of players like Alex Morgan or the leadership of head coach Casey Stoney, Wave FC stands as a testament to the strength, determination, and greatness that women can achieve when given the opportunity. So in March, as we celebrate Women's History Month, we also celebrate Wave FC for your role in shaping the future of women's soccer, empowering female athletes, and continuing to inspire future generations. I now pass it over to my colleague, Montgomery Stepp.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Supervisor Lawson-Remer, and good morning, everyone. It is an honor to co-present a proclamation honoring Women's History Month with my colleague and to recognize the San Diego Football Club, a team representing excellence and the power of women in sports. As we celebrate Women's History Month, we acknowledge not just the past struggles of women fighting for equality, but also the incredible strides being made today. And San Diego Wave FC is at the forefront of that progress. Women's History Month is a time to reflect on the triumphs and challenges that women have faced in all aspects of society. Sports, like many fields, have historically been dominated by men, but teams like the San Diego Wave prove that women belong on the field, in leadership, and in history books. San Diego Wave FC has become a role model for young girls who dream of stepping onto the field and making a name for themselves in professional sports. From their dedicated coaching staff to the inspiring players who push boundaries daily, San Diego Wave FC is redefining the landscape of women's soccer and proving that women's sports deserves just as much recognition, funding, and support as men's sports. This team embodies what Women's History Month is all about, creating spaces where women can thrive and showing the world that when women are given the opportunity, they succeed and inspire others to do the same. So one fun fact about me, I'm a huge sports fan. Roles are kind of reversed in my household. My husband does not like sports, but I do. And I was extremely excited for San Diego Wave's 2024 Challenge Cup win. Their success is a testament to what is possible when we invest in women's sports, support female athletes, and believe in the power of representation. This team's accomplishments go way beyond wins and championships in the National Women's Soccer League. They are changing perceptions, building community, and ensuring that women's sports continue to reach the platform that they deserve. And as an advocate for pay equity, I would be remiss if I did not take a moment to recognize the wage gaps among our professional athletes across the spectrum, where women are systematically paid less than their male counterparts. Over the past few years, we have made strides not only to reignite the conversation, but also to settle these differences as more and more attention is being paid to women's playing arenas. However, we do have a long way to go to ensure there is accountability for active discrimination. Our fight to improve pay equity echoes the advocacy of every woman who has fought for justice before us. So I'd like to say thank you to the players, the coaches, and staff for your leadership, your dedication, and commitment to empowering women in sports. Your hard work inspires the next generation, and we celebrate you today and every day. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Acting Chair Lawson Reamer.
Okay, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's pretty great. I'll just read the end. Whereas the County of San Diego is committed to recognizing and honoring those individuals and organizations that are dedicated to the best ideals of public service, and San Diego Wave FC is one such worthy organization. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by members of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors on this 11th day of March 2025 that we commend the San Diego Wave FC for your outstanding service, leadership, and commitment to the citizens of San Diego County, and do hereby declare this month to be Women's History Month throughout San Diego County. Does anyone want to say anything? You don't have to. Okay, we can just take a picture. Come back here, we'll take a photo. I think this is you. Come on. Yeah. Okay. I'm first. Okay. The next proclamation is for Dr. Tina King. Dr. Tina King, please come up. Come up, everyone. Okay, thank you guys. Dr. Tina King is a visionary leader whose transformative impact on education extends far beyond the classroom. Her unwavering commitment to student success has redefined access, equity, and opportunity across educational sectors, earning Dr. King recognition from us here today during Women's History Month. Through her leadership, she has pioneered innovative pathways, ensuring students can advance in their academic journeys with fewer hurdles and administrative obstacles, unlocking new opportunities for lifelong learning. She has championed the revitalization of historic educational spaces, preserving their legacy while transforming them into hubs of empowerment. Dr. King's groundbreaking research on Black male academic achievement continues to shape policies that foster inclusive excellence. As a mentor and professor, she inspires the next generation of educators and leaders, instilling a passion for service and advocacy. Her determination in securing critical funding has expanded student wellness initiatives, mental health services, and workforce development programs, strengthening the pipeline to success. She forges vital partnerships between education, business, and community leaders, ensuring students are equipped for meaningful careers. Dr. King's work is a testament to the power of education as a force for change. Through her vision, leadership, and relentless dedication, she is shaping a future where all students, regardless of background, have the opportunity to thrive. I will now pass it over to my colleague, Monica Montgomery-Stepp.
Thank you so much, Supervisor. It is my great honor to recognize Dr. Tina King with this proclamation to celebrate Women's History Month. She embodies the very qualities that inspire change in education: a passion for equity, a dedication to student success, and a deep commitment to community empowerment. As president of San Diego College of Continuing Education, Dr. King oversees 30,000 students. Under her leadership, she is redefining non-credit education and expanding access to educational opportunities. Her work is reshaping the future of education, ensuring that all students, regardless of their background, have a path to success. Throughout her career, Dr. King has been committed to ensuring equitable access to education. She has led initiatives that improve student outcomes, provide career pathways, and foster resilience in her students. Whether it's securing millions in grant funding for launching student wellness centers, LGBTQIA+ learning communities, and basic needs hubs, her efforts ensure students succeed academically and thrive in all aspects of life. Her journey from a middle school teacher in Compton to the president of one of the largest continuing education institutions in the country demonstrates that representation truly matters. It shows that women, particularly women of color, belong in every room where decisions are made. However, Dr. King's influence extends beyond her leadership positions. She is shaping the future. Her commitment to inclusive excellence, equity-minded practices, and student-centered leadership is creating lasting change. She inspires young women and future leaders, proving that anything is possible through education, advocacy, and resilience. As the first female Afro-Latina president of SDCCE since 1990, Dr. King's presence is a powerful reminder of how times have evolved and the importance of having representation connected with the community, one that leads with love, compassion, and empathy. And Dr. King has achieved so much during her tenure as president. I have had the honor of partnering with Dr. King on critical projects within our region. In 2023, we stood together announcing funding for a project to preserve and restore the historical Black family statue in City Council District 4. Dr. King's leadership was instrumental in linking welding students from SDCCE to this project, allowing them to contribute to their community with pride. Another notable achievement is the tuition-free EMT pre-apprenticeship program she brought to the educational cultural complex. This program specifically serves Black and Brown communities historically underrepresented in emergency response field and proves an invaluable pathway to a respectable and impactful career. In 2023, Dr. King played a key role in co-hosting the Vision 2030 Adult Education Summit. This event showcased San Diego's commitment to socioeconomic mobility and equity, highlighting the importance of adult education. Needless to say, Dr. Tina King is a trailblazer. As a woman of color in executive leadership, she is paving the way for others, especially women in education, public service, and leadership roles. Dr. King's focus on innovative solutions and eliminating barriers is truly making a difference in the lives of adult learners and our communities. And I'm truly honored to recognize just a small part of the incredible work Dr. King has done. Work she carries out as a mother, a wife, and a friend. Since day one in San Diego, she has been a force for change, consistently advocating for all people to reach their educational goals. Dr. King, you are creating her story right now, and I am thrilled to present you with this proclamation. Your leadership and dedication are shaping the future of our educational system, and we are all grateful for the lasting impact that you continue to make. And with that, be it proclaimed by members of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors on this 11th day of March 2025 that we commend Dr. Tina M. King for her outstanding service, leadership, and commitment to the citizens of San Diego County, and do hereby declare this month to be Women's History Month throughout San Diego County. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So I did prepare something really quickly, but I had to say thank you so much before I get started. Good morning, esteemed members of the County Board of Supervisors, Monica Montgomery Staff, Vice Chair Lawson Reamer, Chair Pro Tem Anderson, and Supervisor Desmond. First, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the County Board of Supervisors. What you all just shared definitely brought tears to my eyes. Thank you. And that doesn't happen often. I thank you for this incredible recognition in honor of Women's History Month. I'm deeply humbled and honored to receive the proclamation and recognition. As the president of San Diego College of Continuing Education, I recognize that this acknowledgement is not only a personal achievement, but a collective achievement. I want to thank and acknowledge the incredible students that I get to serve, the staff, and the amazing executive president's cabinet members that are here with me today. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my amazing husband, Frank, who's here with me as well. I get to support so many students who do not have the opportunity to stand up here for many reasons, because of the way they look, because of their various different backgrounds, and I am so thankful that I get to be the model for all of these beautiful young women, and no matter who they are, where they come from, they could be right here today doing this great work, and because I was, as shared previously, them. And this recognition is a reflection of the shared commitment we all have advanced, that we all have to advancing opportunity for all. I'm proud to be a part of a community where women's contributions, both in history and today, are celebrated. And I look forward to continuing the great work that we do at the College of Continuing Education and in the communities that we serve, and that we do this work together. Thank you all so much for the recognition.
Okay, the next proclamation will be given by Supervisor Desmond, honoring Suzette Lumabas in honor of Women's History Month.
Yes.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Great to see you. Great to see you. And your son, Neil?
Yes. Well, good morning, everyone. It is my honor to recognize a very special woman joining us this morning from Oceanside. I also came down from Oceanside today. We could have carpooled. Anyway, Suzette Lumabas is truly an inspiring community leader and philanthropist. And thank you for your son, Neil, for coming down this morning. During National Women's History Month, we celebrate Suzette's significant contributions to her community, and particularly for those in need. Here are just some of the impressive activities and organizations that she has been a part of in leadership roles, past president and now vice president of the Oceanside Sea Lions Club. And she has raised funds for the scholarship pageant winners, Rady's Children's, Blind Stokers Club, Guide Dogs for the Blind, just to name a few. She's also a trustee of the Phil-Am, the Filipino-American cultural organization, where she spearheaded raising funds to build a multi-purpose building in the Philippines after one of the most destructive typhoons hit the island nation. As their hospitality chair, Suzette has been supporting members in need, including those affected by hurricanes, fires, or other personal losses. Suzette's community support is exceptional. As a volunteer with the Oceanside Pacific Foundation, she provides food to those in need with Brother Benno's and takes time to coordinate groups to meet returning military personnel from deployment with their special gift bags when they return. You show up at just about every event I've ever been to or seen in Oceanside. She's there and contributing and always bringing cheer and joy to every event. But her recent awards include the Oceanside Police Department, the Andrea Sanders Community Friendship Award, the Oceanside Fire Department Friend of the Year Award, the Kiwanis Humanitarian of the Year Award, the Sea Lions Club Certificate of Excellence Award, and the Oceanside Chamber Mixer Member of the Month. And she just continues, goes on and on. How do you keep up with her, Neil? You don't know? Okay, you try. Anyway, Suzette's dedication and compassionate efforts has made a substantial impact in the community where she serves in Oceanside, and she is truly a remarkable woman. So whereas the County of San Diego, we are committed to recognizing and honoring those individuals that are dedicated to the best ideals of public service, and Suzette Lumabas is one such worthy individual. So therefore, be it proclaimed by all members of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors, today, the 11th day of March, 2025, that we commend Suzette Lumabas for her outstanding service, leadership, and commitment to the citizens of San Diego County and Oceanside, and hereby declare this day to be Suzette Lumabas Day throughout San Diego County. Congratulations, Suzette. Thank you very much. You already have a proclamation. I'll give it to your son. Do you want to say a few words? Yeah. There you go. You have much smaller print than I do.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to start by extending my heartfelt thanks to Supervisor Jim Desmond and all the supervisors for this special proclamation in honor of the National Women's History Month. Now, while I may not be history just yet, I do hope that my 80 years of caring for people as a registered nurse in my earlier days and now helping those in need in our communities, we leave a small legacy. I love that word, legacy, so others can follow and continue. As the current Vice President of the Oceanside Sea Lions Club, I was honored to receive the Milestone Chevron Award for over 30 years of membership, a Senior Master Key, and a medallion for sponsoring 25 members. I'm not sure if that qualifies as historical, but I'll check with historians later. Once again, thank you for this special honor. I'm deeply touched and will treasure this moment. It's truly a privilege to be a part of such wonderful community. I hope I get more years to keep making a positive difference, and let's all continue to inspire and support one another every day. Here's to honoring Women's History Month and all the amazing contributions each of us can make. Thank you.
We'll get back and get a picture here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Okay, thank you all very much. We now proceed with non-agenda public communication. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board on subject matters within the board's jurisdiction, but not an item on the meeting agenda. The only action that the board may take is a referral to the Chief Administrative Officer. Under the board's rules, speakers can only speak once per meeting for non-agenda public communication, either at today's general legislative session or tomorrow's land use legislative session, but not both sessions. Speakers may select which session to address the board at their own convenience. To better facilitate the meeting for non-agenda public comment, we have 2 speakers in person, we have 5 speakers in person, 5 speakers by phone, and the rest of non-agenda public communication will be heard at the close of today's session. Additionally, in accordance with the board rules, in order to ensure timely completion of today's agenda, for any discussion items with 15 or more speakers, individuals will have 1 minute to share their opinion. I'm setting the cutoff at 15. I want to be transparent about that based on the length of our agenda. The goal here is to finish this meeting by about 7 p.m. tonight. So based on the number of speakers that have registered, if we have we have 15 or more speakers and folks have 1 minute for items with 15 or more speakers, we should be able to finish by around 7 tonight. Claudia, please let me know if I need to add anything additional. I also want to make sure I share at the outset of today's meeting that if and when we get to around 5 o'clock, looking at our last items, if we still have significantly more speakers and it looks like this meeting might go very, very, very late, we will potentially have the cutoff at 10 speakers instead of 15 speakers. Is that appropriate? Okay, just want to make sure people have fair warning ahead of time. So for any, again, to restate, for any discussion items with 15 or more speakers, individuals will have 1 minute to share their opinion. For all other items, individuals have 2 minutes. And a reminder that according to Rule 4A, members of the public that are non-English speaking and need interpretation assistance get twice the allotted time for their comments. Final reminder, according to the board's rules of procedures, audience members shall not whistle, clap, stomp feet, or do anything that disrupts the proceedings. And if you disrupt the meeting, you will be given a warning. And after that warning, if you disrupt the meeting again, you will be directed to leave the chamber for the remainder of the meeting. Andrew, can you please call the speakers?
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 23 requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 9 in person and 14 requesting to speak by phone. For those that requested to speak by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers, and as the Vice Chair indicated, in accordance with the Board's rules of procedure, we'll hear from the first 5 speakers in person. All the remaining speakers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. You will have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please begin by stating your name for the audio record. I'd like to invite forward the first 3 individuals, Peter Knopper, Dorothea Flanagan, and Mark. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Hello, my name is Peter Knopper. I want to take a minute, Mr. Desmond. I want to recognize your commitment to the United States of America. Thank you very much. Mr. Anderson, I'm in District 2, so are you. It's nice of you to bless us with your presence today. However, I believe you chose to be absent on December 10th because you did not want to look your constituents in the eye and then vote for the destruction of the sovereignty of the United States of America. So you chose not to go to the meeting. Not letting the sheriff work with federal agents is promoting open borders. Open borders are destructive to the United States sovereignty. Your absence on December 10th and your silence on this subject demonstrates your support for the destruction of the United States. This is my property bill, $5,299.94. You're using my tax money to leverage an anti-America agenda, and I'm funding the destruction of the United States. I don't like it. I'm funding legal representation for illegal aliens, but I wonder what representation I'm getting for my taxation. When you are absent from key, absolutely pivotal meetings, there's absolutely no excuse for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Honorable San Diego Board of Supervisors, I'm Dorothea Flanagan of Gopher Canyon. I'm here to address the issue of high-density construction in the cluster developments such as the Havens in Gopher Canyon and the proposed Vessels Ranch in Bonsall. In light of the instant spreading of flames from one house to the next at the Pacific Palisades Inferno, the Malibu fire chief and inspectors determined that firefighters need 20 feet between houses to have a fighting chance to stop the progression of flames blowing from one house to another in windy conditions. The San Diego Planning Department needs to make the Vessels Ranch owner eliminate the current volume of houses proposed because the plans show only 10 feet, like 5 feet for one house and 5 feet for the other between them. The Havens needs to alter the further phases to have more space between them because they are also too close. We live in a high fire risk area, hands down, top worst. We need to listen to the firemen in Los Angeles County, and I'm not here to collect my award for helping my next door neighbor who is a firefighter. It's no fun watching a whole neighborhood go up in flames instantly because the houses are too close placed. Please deny the Vessels Ranch design in its current tight configuration. The Bonsall Community Sponsor Group is in the process of considering the Vessels project right now on March 17.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite the remaining speakers in person, Michelle Calandrino and Oliver Twist. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Mark, everyone see this YouTube video title. This is Rosa Corey, whose specialty is eminent domain valuation. She was an expert witness in land use and property valuation.
For 30 years, I've worked for the California Department of Transportation. I'm a district branch chief, and I've just retired. I'm a litigation support person and expert witness in land use and property valuation. And those years of analysis and litigation support prepared me for recognizing the planning revolution that was sweeping the nation, that began, that I first noticed back in 2002. And in researching that, as well as in fighting a huge fraudulent redevelopment project in my city, where I was actually elected to the project area committee, and from sitting on that committee and doing research, I found that the whole project was fraudulent. It's a long deal, but through researching that, I found the issues behind it, and they led to United Nations Agenda 21 Sustainable Development. Like one of your members said in his testimony in regards to House Bill 1634, I was a skeptic, and as well you should be. But in doing the research, I found that this really wasn't something that was a conspiracy theory. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's a conspiracy fact. And this information is fully documented. Everything that I'm going to be talking about today is a fact. And if I'm speculating or I'm giving my opinion on something, I'll tell you. Otherwise, everything I'm talking about is fully documented. So I know that as Americans, you're going to find yourselves deeply at odds with and completely concerned by the agenda for the 21st century. And that is what it's called by the United Nations and the world. It's not Catch-22, it's not Area 51, it's Agenda 21 because it is the agenda for the 21st century. That is what it's called by the United Nations. It's a blueprint. It is the action plan to inventory and control all land, all water, all minerals, all plants, all animals, all construction, all information, all energy, all means of production, and all human beings in the world. It is a totally comprehensive plan. Yes, it's a we'll just do.
Everyone should try and stop this.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
And I've just retired. I'm a litigation support person and expert witness in land use.
Hi, good morning to everyone. My name is Michelle Calandrino. I live in Bonsall, California. I've never done anything like this before, so I do appreciate you listening. We've lived on our property for 30 years. I have my own business, People of the Horse Ranch, where I do a boarding facility. I met a man on an internet dating site, came to my home, decided that he was going to try and take our property from us. He's hacked into my computer, my phone, my internet, my business software, and then I've been severely burned in my house, and I couldn't figure out what was happening to me. I have massive amounts of radio frequency coming in my home. I can't use the appliances in my home. I'm being burned. I have given Mr. Desmond photos of all of this that has been going on. I was outside one day looking up. I have burnt trees surrounding my whole home. There's all this equipment that's been placed above our property, right above where we live. This is 6 to 8 feet tall. It's non-licensed equipment on private property. There's nobody home in the house. There's no address. There's no mailbox, which I found very odd. I had to hike up to get to this equipment. It's put in Lowe's concrete buckets, so it wasn't professionally put in. I don't believe that it has any permission to be zoned there. What's happening to me in my home is very blatant, obvious. It's completely burned. I have trees that are literally going in the opposite direction than where they were when I planted them. Like I said, I take care of my 87-year-old mother. I have a brain-injured sister from a drunk driving accident, and I run a business with 75 horses and 45 women that are my clients. I'm being harmed severely. I have put metal panels around my home to try to protect myself, and I'm sleeping in a bed covered in metal panels. I need help, and I need the equipment removed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
So, ma'am, well, we will get you connected. I think you need to be connected to the district attorney, okay? So if you stay there, someone will come speak with you. Thank you.
Hi, Oliver Twist here. So first of all, thank you to Andrew. I wanted to compliment his professionalism, and he's always very diligent. He reached out to me after my last public comment concerns about accessibility and ableism for non-agenda public comment. And just for the record, I did follow through and file a federal civil rights complaint with the DOJ, so a courtesy heads up on that, Council. Next, I want to continue to highlight my concerns about the fiscal state of the county, which I have been sounding on the alarm for over a year and a half to this body. Sadly, I will not be here at 5 p.m. for the update as I have a school board meeting to go to, but I do urge you, rein in your spending. Develop a Maslow hierarchy of needs, and be prepared also with the past decisions you've made, be prepared for the consequences when you have deliberately chosen to thumb your nose at the federal government. Lastly, I want to highlight yet another incident of incivility and mistreatment that I was subjected to, both in this chamber and in the hallway. This is my third time that I have been targeted and attacked with vitriol. I am a regular attendee and watchdog here, and I wanted to call attention to the hate speech and femphobia that has been directed at me. So I want to dispel formally the narrative that hate and intimidation and incivility come only from the right. This is false. And since I am the last in-person speaker, let's get ready for the more political theater today. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. Again, in accordance with the board's rules, we'll be hearing from the first 5 callers. The remaining callers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session. When it is your turn to speak, you will be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. And I'll remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. We will start with our first caller. First caller is Dustin Castro. Your device might be muted. And it looks like that caller dropped off. We'll go to the next caller.
Paul LeBeau, good morning. Today we will take a break from the Brown Act. Your homework is to look again at the Act over the next few days, which is explicitly part of the Constitution and must be obeyed, although you keep breaking the law. A new study on the homeless from Case Western University shows that 35% of participants said the death of a parent, spouse, or partner precipitated their homelessness. And over 50% said relational breakdown, like separation, divorce, or death, contributed to their housing instability. The problem is more than just losing one's house. Getting in there early with psychiatric counseling on family issues would help. Since October 2022, I have told you to de-emphasize housing first. The main reason, there are so many other important ways to stop homelessness that by the time housing is built the way you want, it is really housing last. Often homelessness goes deeper than the lack of shelter. It's impacted by the way you grow up and the situations you experience. And it's often an uphill battle that requires a healthy physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Those facing homelessness need more than just housing to build an independent lifestyle and thrive. They need community. They need mentors and friends. They need the genuine love and support that we all need when challenges come our way. In short, they need to be treated like human beings. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Now go back to the last caller.
Hey, this is Justin Castro, former County San Diego employee. Now, Throughout the years, everyone knows what my issue is. My issue is election security. Everyone has been asking me how come I cannot provide proof. Well, that's very simple. ACLU made sure that the lock and key is only solely with the registrar of voters. So I asked the county multiple times what procedures they use to go ahead and identify third-party individuals from changing and adjusting votes. I presented that evidence to everyone at the Board of Supervisors, where they said that they do not do anything to look for it because they see no evidence of it. Well, I've presented strong cases of why there could be possible election fraud, and I think I submitted documents showing ACLU's link in changing election laws to prevent anyone from ever investigating it, keeping the rolls loose, and allowing fraud to persist. The only reason why everyone says no fraud has taken place is because the last study on fraud was back in, 93, when you were allowed to check for fraud? And then 95, you were not allowed to check for fraud. The only person that could check for fraud is the person that certifies the election. So if they like the way that the election is going, they're not going to go ahead and check their work at all. So the only other person that can check their work is the Department of Justice. So your evidence that you gave me will end up being the evidence I need to throw all four of you in jail. The registrar in jail, if DOJ finds it. And I could bet you, if we'd take a look at homeless facilities, and since it's been unchecked, I'm pretty sure they got really, really lazy. I could track the registrar.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Good morning, Supervisors. This is Madison Rapp. I am here to speak about the harms of substance use among young people in San Diego. I appreciated the special meeting last week addressing behavioral health issues and want to add that it is essential that we recognize the importance of early intervention for substance use, especially when it comes to young people, to prevent more serious mental health issues down the road. Since marketing efforts by cannabis companies often target young people, that is a great place to start. While often perceived as a less harmful substance, research shows that regular cannabis use, especially during adolescence, is strongly linked to the development of mental health disorders, such as depression, anxiety, and even psychosis. The adolescent brain is still developing, and cannabis use can interfere with cognitive functions, increase vulnerability to mental health issues, and exacerbate underlying conditions. By preventing youth from using cannabis, we can reduce the risk of these more serious, long-term mental health challenges. By preventing substance use in this vulnerable population, we can avoid escalating issues as they grow older. These prevention efforts not only reduce the burden on our crisis-driven systems, but can ultimately lessen the need for long-term interventions and services. Thank you for your time, your leadership, and your commitment to improving the health and well-being of all the San Diego County residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Consuelo. So just wanting to remind everyone that their one world government, the UN agenda for the 21st century, is quickly rolling in. In some ways, it's already here. While the masses are being purposely distracted with current events and fighting on social media about the Orange Man in command, there was the One Government Summit that just took place in Dubai on the 11th and the 13th. I guarantee not many on the planet knew about it. Musk was in attendance virtually, speaking on, get this, the United States to delete entire agencies from the federal government as a part of his push under President Trump. We already know that happened. To radically cut spending and blah, 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 blah. Anyways, point is, one world government, UN agenda, here we are. And still people are putting their faith in this purposely beyond corrupt and flawed system. So I guess I just really want to say to everyone there that society is, in fact, collapsing purposely, and people are starting to recognize that the reason they feel like they're mentally ill is because they're living in a system that's not designed to suit the human spirit. People are taking their lives literally because they can't handle what's going on. And we weren't meant to be in this type of system. You weren't meant to just pay bills and die. Life should be not like this. So remember, you weren't born, again, to just pay bills and die. It's time for a new system. It's time for the people to realize their power. The majority have forgotten their power. And, I did.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the final caller this morning.
Barbara Gordon. Our unincorporated county has spectacular open spaces that I would not want to be compromised. I am concerned that the county's Cannabis Environmental Impact Report that was released is not addressing the significant impact to the unincorporated community by adding up to 25 more marijuana businesses to the already 5 in the county. Here are just a few of the impacts. Marijuana growers use pesticides, fertilizers that can contaminate soil and water sources. These chemicals can harm local ecosystems, affecting wildlife and plant diversity. Marijuana cultivation requires significant water resources, often exceeding the traditional crop, leading to a strain on local water supplies. Cultivation often leads to habitat destruction and contributes to land use changes that disrupt local ecosystems. And indoor cultivation is energy intense, requiring substantial electricity for lighting, climate control, ventilation. The cultivation and processing of marijuana generates significant odor, waste, including plant material, packaging, chemicals, and improper disposal can lead to pollution that harms our local environment. The community is not asking for, nor do they want, more marijuana businesses. The county and staff are only listening to the loudest voices, which come from the marijuana profiteers, not the residents who live there. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. That concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this morning. Again, all the remaining speakers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session.
Okay, thank you so much. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes and statements of proceedings for the session on February 25th and February 26th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Montgomery Stepp. Is there a second? Thank you. We have a second by Supervisor Anderson. Please vote. Okay, thank
Vice
you
Chair
all.
Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, great. We now proceed with the formation of the consent agenda. So this is items 1 through 7 and item 15. As a reminder, all items on the consent agenda are routine and will be acted upon with one motion. Individuals will be able to comment on the consent agenda after the supervisors pull any items they would like to pull for discussion. So would any of my colleagues like to pull any items for discussion, or does anyone have any comments on the items on the consent agenda? Supervisor Anderson? No. Okay, Supervisor Desmond?
No items to pull, no comments, and I'll move the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Desmond. Supervisor Montgomery Stepp?
I will second that motion. Just have some quick comments on item number 6. Excited to appoint Dr. Susanna Flalo and Eva Matthews to the Healthy San Diego Consumer and Professional Advisory Committee. Dr. Flalo is a highly experienced family physician with over 25 years of experience. She's a co-founder of IWC Primary Care and spent 23 years as a partner with the Southern California Permanente Medical Group at Kaiser Permanente, where she held several key roles there. There are many, and then Eva Matthews earned her BA in psychology from the University of Connecticut and her Master of Public Health at the University of Arizona with a special focus on community support for positive health behavioral change. She also has more than 25 years of experience in public health research at Yale University. I'm very excited about both of them, believe that they will bring a wealth of experience to this advisory committee, and I would just like to thank both of them for their service. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I just have a couple remarks on a few items. So just on both items 3 and 4, we all know that wildfire is now a year-round threat, and investing in fire preparedness is really crucial to save lives. So I appreciate that today we are taking important steps forward to continue this work that's always been a priority of this board, really prioritizing resilience and safety and making sure no communities are left behind. So thank you to the team for their work on items 3 and 4. Item number 15, this is just, I want to take a moment to uplift the progress that we've been making on behavioral health, the very significant steps that we've taken to expand community-based behavioral health care and secure critical funding to support individuals with significant behavioral health needs. We as a county in San Diego have been a leader in implementing BH Connect. This is an important item that I appreciate the urgency with which the team docketed this so that we could move forward. So I know it was a late docket. It's an important item. I think it positions us ahead of other counties in order to prioritize our efforts to secure tens of millions of funding. I also want to just reiterate one of the parts of this recommendation, which is to really call on the state to fast track their notification to our county and to our partners regarding the protocols for receiving and dispersing this funding. We've done our part. We've made agreements, we've forged partnerships. Now we're just waiting for the state to basically open the gate and allow us to move forward to advance the work that we've actually already done. So we really need our state to take faster action so that these projects can move forward. That is really the only thing holding us up at this point. So thank you again to the team and for your many months of work that has been culminated in this item. So with that, we'll now turn to public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 9 requests to speak on items on the consent agenda, 3 in person and 6 requesting to speak by phone. Any individuals that requested to speak on items on the consent agenda by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Luis Fuentes, allegedly Audra, and Mark. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please begin by stating your name for the audio record. Also, when speaking, please identify which items on the consent agenda you are speaking about. And that's items 1 through 7 and 15. Thank you.
Thank you, members of the board, members of the public. My name is Luis Fuentes from Chula Vista, California, and I wanted to touch upon your consent agenda items 1, 2, and 3 in public safety. I am a firm proponent of law enforcement. I always have. I think it's the security of our communities is the basis for our economic vitality and our quality of life, quite frankly. From the security of our people walking around in streets, our children's safety, anything that has to do with ensuring that there's a quality of life for our residents is very important. My brother was in law enforcement. He was the youngest deputy probation officer in California's history. He passed away due to pancreatic cancer. But he was a proponent and a big fighter. In fact, they named the county sheriff's building in Imperial County after him. Iran Martinez was his name. I also wanted to address the fact that I am running for Board of Supervisor District 1. I am one of the 7 candidates. I think I bring a business perspective to this board. I wanted to introduce myself so that at least you saw a face and you put the face to a name. I am a Republican. I always have been, but I'm also Latino, and I also went to Berkeley, so how bad of a Republican can I be, right? I believe in a good business environment. I've been in business for 25 years. I run a family business that's been in business for over 75 years. We're going into our fourth generation. I have grown up on the border. I know the border dynamics. I was president of the U.S.-Mexico Border Counties Coalition. I have been involved in the National Association of Supervisors. So there's 3,244 supervisors in the U.S., or counties in the U.S., and that's over 16,000 Board of Supervisors that really we can make an impact.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Next speaker, please.
My person uses the name Audra. At least he can get used to you guys not paying attention. Okay. Yes, so let's go with number one. It's interesting the way you guys talk about stuff. So this $12 million is going to go to travel, replenishment, refurbishment, and medication for individuals in jail. What does refurbishment mean? Confused. And replenishment. Who knows, right? It's cool, just as long as you get to spend the money. And then for all these wildfires, it's interesting because you guys sit and act like you really want to protect the people, right? You want to make sure that we're safe from fires, which seems to be doublespeak when you are putting like BESs everywhere in very high fire zones and, you know, putting people's lives in danger just for your climate god, right? It's like, who cares if we sacrifice the people as long as we're saving the planet? It's fine. But we're going to tell you while we're putting those there that we want to make sure you're safe from fires. That's interesting. It's very interesting to see the way that you guys work and the doublespeak and all of the propaganda that you guys like to spew while, you know, making it harder for people to even evacuate with your climate action plan. Let's take away lanes. Let's put in roundabouts. Let's make it difficult and impossible for people to leave during an emergency, right? Who cares? It's fine. And as long as you get money to do that, you know, then it's like the people who are suffering and who have lost everything don't get any money. You know what? They have to pay FEMA back. It's pretty cool, right? It's the way the government works. I mean, what a great world we live in, where stuff like this can happen and we can all pretend we want to make you safe, but I'm going to put you in danger to do it. You guys are so good at flawing the system.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mark, on items 3 and 4. 3, receiving funds from FEMA. This is a video, or actually I think this is an article for a change. It's the title of an article. Everyone out there needs to see this. The powers that FEMA has been granted during an emergency is completely unconstitutional and just unbelievable. They basically can just declare martial law, and you're just subject to their will with military force. There's nothing in the Constitution originally about this. There's nothing in the Constitution about suspending powers, suspending the Constitution. There's no reason ever to suspend the Constitution and our rights. But this does. And FEMA should not have power like this. No agency in the United States should have power like this. As far as the fires go, yes, there's some homeless people that are understandably really angry, and some of them are mentally ill, and a few people are setting fires that are homeless. However, as I've stated before, people need to see the video on YouTube. The title, it's not the complete title, but it'll bring it up. Klaus Schwab, 2017, Young Global Leaders, Audio Cleaned Up. Where he's stating for the World Economic Forum, this is one of the founders, that they're infiltrating governments. Nathan Fletcher was a young global leader here just a few years back. There are probably hundreds in our government. If you look up a list of young global leaders, it's on the web. They're not hiding this, and it shouldn't be. They want global governance, and getting people out of the rural areas with fires where their insurance companies make all the money is very profitable for them to help take over the world.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We'll begin with our first caller.
Paul Bold. 1. Possibly being declared nuts and a major loss of rights in an already restrictive setting is not routine. The inclusion of this in the Valley Center plan on the consent calendar is reprehensible and will not be tolerated. This program only applies to felons. Do we actually need 25 beds? Do we have that many crazy felons? After all, most felons plan their crimes, so 25 beds seems kind of excessive. And this is a 12 mil contract, a lot of taxpayer money down the tube. I also see that we're paying per diem from January 1st, although it is March 11th. Why is this program only in the San Diego jail? And it's nice for the state to give us big grants for this, but it's running a huge deficit. So I would get alternative funding ready. I would suggest modifying this and not approve it right away. 4, you say wildfires is now a year-round business. It is, thanks to lithium-ion batteries, EVs, and BET. Whoever is chosen for the construction services needs to be aware that the tourists might have to slow down the pace of construction to preserve important QMI tribal artifacts. And I'm amazed by the willingness to hand confidential documents over to native tribes without actually specifying what the content is. I would hope that this is specified at some point. 3, I'm sure some stations need hardening, but it concerns me that you might accidentally tear down older material that is actually more durable. I just wouldn't use it.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Hey, this is Justin Castro again, gambler, Hermes, trickster from day one. Well, I want to go ahead and present something to you. I got kicked out of the meeting 2 times in a row, which means I should not be talking today. Also, you granted other people to go off topic, especially today. Why is that? And the person that told Tara to kick me out was Claudia. So who's really in control of the Board of Supervisors? Clearly not themselves. I could provide plenty of evidence of that throughout the Board of meetings. I could go ahead and get you guys out of trouble, but I have no desire to do that anymore. See, I wanted to work with you for years. You did not want to work with me. Now, I'm going to try to work with the DOJ in a different tactic. I'm going to have everyone send letters to DOJ, to Simmons, to everyone, expressing how ACLU dismantled our election system so that they could grant access for a probe that will go into San Diego, proving Cynthia lied, proving you guys were blocking me from looking into fraud. Do you want me to list the laws that you guys broke and how many years and what cost will happen, or how much money I would make if I choose to go the financial route, which was $1.9 million to $6.6 million if I'm successful? That is great motivation for me to throw your asses in jail. I get $1.9 million to $6.6, all for proving fraud happens. Payback's a bitch, ain't it? Right? Do you have anything to say for yourselves? And thank you, Monica, for telling me more advocacy groups that you put.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Consuelo. Item 3, FEMA pre-disaster mitigation grant program. Some stations need hardening, but it concerns Paul and myself that you might accidentally tear down older materials that are actually more durable. And that's what is wanting, that's the stress that we want, that's what Paul's wanting to stress on, is the durable, older material. Just read a news article titled "Modern Homes Burn Faster Than Older Homes Due to Construction Materials. Studies Show." So there you go. Pablo mentioned how he's disappointed that we don't adjust the budget so this program can be done now instead of its bits and pieces over a few years. In fact, this might even result in some stations becoming even more vulnerable to wildfires. 2, forensic science improvement grant. It's great to have the training, but from what I hear, the big problem in at the medical examiner office is staffing. Like everywhere else, probably a revolving door. So many secrets to keep. So please take care of staffing first. 6, appointments, various districts, all. These are a matter of public interest, sole source contracts with their potential for fraud, ordinances, both first and second readings. And appointments should be in the discussion section, not buried in consent with a number of other items competing for time and attention. In addition, all applicants or appointees should be tested from previous experience and the results published as to how they support open dialogue and how ready they are to consider alternative suggestions. There are too many people in government, local on up.
Thank you. Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on the items on the consent agenda.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We have a motion by Supervisor Desmond, second by Supervisor Montgomery Stepp for approval of the items on consent. Please vote.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, great. So for discussion today, we have items 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, and we now move on to these items. As we enter budget season, we would like to ensure that the working public can stay engaged. To this end, we will be hearing item 14 at a time certain of 5 p.m. today. This will hopefully allow individuals who have to be at work during regular board meeting hours to listen or participate. So we will now hear items 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Then we will take the remaining non-agenda public comment and then closed session public comment, as well as adjournments in memory. Then we head into closed session. And then at 5 o'clock, we will hear item 14. And after item 14, we will adjourn. So just to repeat, we will hear items 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Then we take remaining non-agenda public comment. We take closed session public comment. We do our adjournments in memory. Then we will do closed session today. And then hopefully closed session will be done by 5 so that we can be back to hear item 14. And after item 14, we will adjourn. Item 8. We begin with item 8, notice public hearing fiscal year 2025, 2029, consolidated plan, et cetera, very long title of our item. So I hand it over to Kim, David, and Kelly for a presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, members of the board. The purpose of today's hearing is to request your approval for the fiscal years 2025 to 2029 draft consolidated plan and fiscal year 2025 to 2026 annual plan for the county's federal entitlement programs. We are also requesting approval to apply for and administer the State Emergency Solutions Grant. The 25 to 29 Consolidated Plan is a 5-year strategic plan for U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, entitlement funding. The county receives approximately $14 million annually for the entitlement programs. This is the county's primary funding source for affordable housing, community development, and related services. The 25 to 29 Consolidated Plan will go into effect on July 1st, 2025. Here with me today is David Estrella, Director, and Kelly Salmons, Deputy Director for Housing and Community Development Services, or HCDS. I'm going to pass it over to David.
Thank you, Kim, and good morning to the board. As mentioned, today we're here to present both the 25-29 Consolidated Plan and the 25-26 Annual Plan. The Consolidated Plan takes a 5-year view of the region's housing and community development needs and priorities. HCDS develops the Consolidated Plan through extensive community outreach and data analysis. This process also results in the development of the 5-year Consolidated Plan strategic goals, which were approved by the board in October. For each year within the Consolidated Plan, HCDS develops an annual plan, which serves as a subcomponent to the Consolidated Plan and identifies specific projects for funding in the upcoming year. This process ensures that the county's investment and the use of HUD entitlement funding has a measurable pathway for achieving the 5-year goals for the region. All projected funding levels are based on historical amounts and are subject to change. Funding levels for the upcoming year are pending federal budget approval. The new Consolidated Plan outlines the use of funding for the following 4 federal entitlement programs. The Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG program, supports communities by addressing local housing and community development needs in the urban county. The urban county includes the unincorporated county and participating cities of Coronado, Del Mar, Imperial Beach, Lemon Grove, Poway, and Solana Beach. The Home Investment Partnership Program funds the development of affordable housing, down payment closing cost assistance programs, and rental assistance to lower income households. The Home Consortium includes the urban county, as well as the cities of Carlsbad, Encinitas, La Mesa, San Marcos, Santee, and Vista. The Emergency Solutions Grants, or ESG program, provides direct services to persons experiencing homelessness or at risk of experiencing homelessness within the urban county. Lastly, our Housing Opportunities for Persons with HIV/AIDS, or HOPWA program, provides housing and services to persons living with HIV/AIDS and their families throughout the entire region of San Diego County, including the city of San Diego. Now I'll pass it over to Kelly, who will share the development process of the Consolidated Plan and Annual Plan in greater detail. Kelly?
Thank you, David. The Consolidated Plan is a 5-year strategic plan developed from community outreach and engagement, stakeholder consultations, and an analysis of data indicators. Community outreach included 12 community input sessions held both in person throughout the county and virtually, as well as an online community input questionnaire. To gather a diverse range of feedback, HCDS consulted with more than 40 organizations, including other county departments, affordable housing developers, nonprofit service providers, fair housing advocates, and representatives from other local municipalities across the region. Finally, extensive data analysis was completed, exploring various indicators like regional economic and demographic trends, needs of the county's low to moderate income population, and a housing market analysis. The draft plan has been publicly available for comment since February 7th, with public notices in all county threshold languages, published within local newspapers, and distributed through listservs as well as on the HCDS website. Today's hearing is also the last of 2 public hearings required by HUD. Once approved, the draft plan will be submitted to HUD and take effect in July. As a result of the community input received, regional research, and data analysis, new 5-year strategic goals were created. As reflected through the icons on the slide, these goals align with the 5P solution framework from the county's housing blueprint. The new Consolidated Plan goals will support, 1, the creation of new affordable housing opportunities by investing in housing options that both expand the affordable housing stock and increase efficiency and affordability within the existing housing supply. 2, improve housing stability by strengthening and supporting the region's most vulnerable populations through programs across the homeless to housed continuum. And 3, improve the quality of life throughout communities by improving access to vital services, community infrastructure, and economic development opportunities. By developing goals that are centered in community input and are data-driven, we ensure our approach remains responsive to local needs and focuses on impactful resource allocation. Lastly, these goals provide guidance for the funding prioritization and project selection for the 25-26 annual plan projects, which we will highlight on the following slides. Each year, HCDS identifies recommended annual plan projects based on anticipated HUD funding and historical allocations to the region. The county receives approximately $4.3 million in CDBG funding. 19 projects have been identified as recommended for CDBG for the upcoming 25-26 annual plan. Some examples of CDBG investments include public services, such as a court-appointed advocacy for foster youth and family emergency shelters. Public infrastructure, such as the purchase of a fire engine, sidewalk and street improvements, as well as ADA barrier removal projects. Micro-enterprise assistance for low-income home child care providers, and the county's home repair program, providing home repair loans and grants for critical health and safety improvements, focusing on low-income seniors. The HOME program provides funding to support affordable housing opportunities for lower-income households. Each year, we receive approximately $2.9 million in home funding for the HOME Consortium. The recommended home funding for 25-26 annual plan is funding rental assistance programs focused on transitional age youth and family reunification, supporting affordable housing development and/or rehabilitation of affordable housing, and funding for the county's first-time home buyer program. The county also receives approximately $370,000 in Federal Emergency Solutions, or ESG, funding each year. The ESG program provides projects that provide direct services to persons who are experiencing or at risk of homelessness. Funded services providers are limited to rapid rehousing, emergency shelters, and homeless prevention. Finally, the HOPWA program provides affordable housing and housing-related services for individuals and their families living with HIV or AIDS. The County of San Diego receives an annual regional allocation of approximately $6.3 million. The HOPWA program currently supports emergency and transitional housing, supportive services, facility operations, long-term residential care, and moving services for persons living with HIV or AIDS and their families. HOPWA is a critical piece of the county's Getting to Zero implementation plan, as without adequate housing, one cannot achieve health. In addition, today's board letter authorizes the application for an administration of state emergency solutions grant funding, which supports the same types of activities as the federal ESG program. There is approximately $600,000 in state ESG funding available for the county in 25-26. The total expected award amount is approximately $1.8 million over the next 3 years. I will now pass it back to David.
Thank you, Kelly. Today's requested actions include receiving public testimony and approving the proposed fiscal year 25-29 consolidated plan and fiscal year 25-26 annual plan for submission to HUD and corresponding resolution. Also requesting authorization for the following actions. Approve the reallocation of program funding as necessary. Take actions necessary to execute contracts and award funding. Adjust funding to reflect changes from HUD if necessary. Apply for state ESG funding for fiscal years 24 through 27, and apply for additional funding opportunities as necessary. This concludes our presentation. We're available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, we will first go to public comment, and then we'll have questions from our board.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 9 requests to speak on this item, 3 in person and 6 requesting to speak by phone. Also note that we did not receive any e-comments on this item. Any individuals that requested to speak on item 8 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers, starting with the individual in favor, followed by those in opposition. As your name is called, please come forward and stand in the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. I'd like to invite forward the speaker in favor, Felipe Gamboa, followed by the speakers in opposition, allegedly Audra and Mark. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please begin by stating your name for the audio record.
Good morning, San Diego Board of Supervisors, county staff, and members of the public. My name is Felipe Gamboa, and I'm a community impact specialist at Upwards, the nation's largest child care network. I'm here to express strong support for our Boost application currently under consideration. Through this program, we have an incredible opportunity to partner with San Diego County to create lasting positive change in local child care landscape. The Upwards Boost program is designed to empower home-based child care providers by equipping them with essential technology, business training, and financial resources. By investing in these micro-enterprise child care businesses, we strengthen the local economy, expand child care capacity, and ensure that working families in San Diego have access to affordable, high-quality child care options. Supporting child care providers is essential to fostering a thriving and resilient community. These providers play a crucial role in healthy development for children by offering safe, nurturing, high-quality early learning environments. When we invest in child care services, we not only support working families, allowing them to participate fully in the workforce, but also drive economic growth and stability. By ensuring these child care providers have access to resources, training, and support that they need, we help to maintain high standards of care and education, benefiting children, families, and the community. I urge the Board of Supervisors to approve the funding recommendations and invest in programs that deliver meaningful long-term benefits to child care providers, families, and the community as a whole. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My person uses the name Audra. Wouldn't it be cool if you guys weren't engaged in racketeering? It would, right? Like all this housing stuff is like a racket. How cool, right? I mean, just to put money in people's pockets and not really provide homes. And like the number of homes that we need continues to grow, right? It's gonna be like 200,000 at some point. Never gonna catch up with it. But you're going to pretend to, and you're going to pretend that we're helping people. We're making sure that they can get into a home that's affordable. What is like? It's actually funny that you guys like say all these things. It's like you need to look in the mirror to tell yourself these things. We're helping people. We know it. I'm going to pat myself on the back. Yeah, every time we do account for the homeless, it just keeps growing, right? But I mean, that's the point. When it's a business, you need more homeless people, right? Good job. It's like, it's just, oh my gosh. This is like a comedy show. Life is, right? When it's like, all this double speak, we want to keep you away from fires, we're going to put a fire danger right next to you. It's like hilarious. It is. It's so funny. I mean, because you guys like are looking at me seriously like, how did she know? Oh my gosh, she caught on to us. It's crazy. That is bananas. How would anybody see right through us? Because you're transparent. Yes. Yeah. Like ghosts. It's crazy. It is. And it smells like sulfur up here. I don't know. Do you know where that comes from, Jim? You don't? Okay. That's okay. It's because it's a hell smell, and we're living in hell, and that's why we tell people, just like Satan does, that we're going to help you while we're destroying your life. It's good. I mean, gosh, couldn't pay for that kind of comedy.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mark, everyone should see these titles. These are some articles. And so, 8, article by Western Journal entitled, "Carbon Capture Companies Are Stealing Your Land and Here's How to Stop Them." Some quotes. Rather, the U.S. economy is largely controlled by a cabal of powerful corporatist interests bent on imposing their net zero agenda upon the American people. The most significant problem with CCS, however, is that CCS companies are attempting to use eminent domain to steal Americans' private land, representing a dire threat to our fundamental property rights. Because this process typically entails transporting captured carbon dioxide across long distances through pipelines, CCS companies require possession of vast tracts of land through which their pipelines will cross. Most of this land is private property. For instance, Summit Carbon Solutions has already received approval to use eminent domain against private landowners in Iowa, a key milestone in Summit's proposed 2,500-mile pipeline network spanning 5 states, end of quotes. This is Rosa Corey, whose specialty is eminent domain valuation. She is an expert witness in land use and property valuation.
This is the goal, is to take land out of private ownership and move it into control by the government. If you have doubts about communitarian law in the United States, you look no further than the 2005 Supreme Court decision, the Kelo decision. And what that did not. Some people think that gave government the right to take your property and give it to you. No, that already existed under redevelopment. What the Kelo decision did was it redefined public use. Under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution, we're guaranteed the right of just compensation when our land is taken for public use by our government, right? Well, public use, it's a road, we think we know what a public use is. No, the Supreme Court changed it to anything that makes more money.
Thank you. Your time is up. Now we'll hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We'll start with our first caller.
Paul LeBold. First thing I noticed looking at the data is that the NA 10.1 and 2 tables are 2022 data, not even an estimate for 2025. And NA 10.3 to 8 are 2020 data. I smell a rat. Don't let them run an emergency solutions plan based on 5-year-old data. Please reject and rewrite. Many of the community input sessions were during normal working hours, none in the zone from Del Mar to Oceanside or in Chula Vista. And it is really hard to believe that no comments were received out of 14,027 community input announcement emails sent. So it looks like we have about 250 community member comments representing the entire county. One of the questions is to estimate the number and type of families in need of housing assistance. The report didn't even do that. One question is to identify any agency types not consulted and provide a reason. The answer is that no organization was purposefully excluded from the community engagement process. But that's not the question. The question was who was excluded, whether purposefully or not. Another problem is that they want to sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Let's see.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Justin Castro, Hermes. Hey, do you know what a rope-a-dope is? Famous thing from Muhammad Ali where basically he grabbed onto the rope and allowed his opponent to take swings at him. That is exactly what I did. My rope was NVRA, I think it's 8.I, which basically locks anyone from investigating voter fraud. That was it. Now, I'll tell you why you shouldn't say no to this. You guys told everyone if you had AIDS, you could go ahead and sleep with anyone. You promoted that. Now, you are stressing the consequences of that action. We now have to worry about it. If you would have applied the same rules that you applied with COVID, AIDS would have been gone away a long-ass time ago. If you would have locked up every single person that has AIDS would have been gone, right? Let's go ahead and apply your same logic to that. Let's start locking up every single person that has AIDS so that we could eliminate that problem. Oh, no. This is all political theater, isn't it, Tara? Which you went ahead and said. You don't listen to us. That was stressed in the Sandag meeting, where if you had to listen to us, you would get nothing done. But if you listen to the advocacy groups, you could get anything you want done, and you could stay in power. That gives you plenty of reason not to look into voter fraud if you are one of these people. And apparently all 4 of our board members are one of these people that understands that voter fraud is happening this way. And the only way that they can maintain their power is pledging loyalty to these groups. A ton of different groups, all working independently, yet all working together to serve.
Thank you. Now hear from the final caller. Looks like that caller dropped off. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, great. We have some comments from my colleague, Supervisor Montgomery Stepp.
Let me start off by saying thank you for the presentation and the diligent work that goes into putting together this annual plan. I want to take a moment to highlight a couple of projects in District 4 that will be funded using the CDBG funds. One is in the city of Lemon Grove. Funds will be used to pave a segment of North Avenue between Buena Vista Avenue and Olive Street. ADA accessible curb ramps and traffic loops will also be installed. Another project is going to be on Troy Street in Spring Valley. Funds will be used for a sidewalk and ADA compliant pedestrian ramp, a marked crosswalk, and other surface improvements. This project will help connect several other sidewalks in the area that were previously funded also through the same funding source, CDBG grant. So I'm happy to see this ongoing and important work being done. Just had a question about potential cuts to HUD at the federal level. Have we internally looked at that and how it may impact this pot of funding?
Thank you very much for your question, Supervisor, through the chair. So at this point, we have not gotten any formal direction from HUD as to what the future funding allocations will be. What you have before here are estimates based on prior year funding, and that has been the practice for many, many years. At this point, we have no further guidance from HUD as to what allocations will be.
Okay, so when we do know, would it be, can you all present us with some type of memo or something indicating the impacts? Because we want to make sure if I'm sharing this publicly and then sharing it in the communities and it turns out not to be the case, I want to make sure that we know that.
Yes, Supervisor, we can do that. Thank you.
Okay. With that, thank you. I will move this item. Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Desmond.
Well, thank you. First of all, I want to congratulate you on having the longest title of any board agenda item today. Only half of it fits up there. I had to read it a couple times to figure out what this was really about, but I know you had a lot packed in here, and I appreciate all the time and effort. And I did want to mention the Vista Community Clinic and for the pediatrics and family medicine clinic where some of these CDBG funds are going. So thank you very much for that, but that is one heck of a title, I got to tell you. Thank you. I'll second the item.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Montgomery Stepp, a second by Supervisor Desmond. Supervisor Anderson, any comments? Okay, great. Please call the roll. Vote.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. So we will now move on to item number 9.
Can I introduce it before we go to public comment?
This is the Ending Super Sanctuary County Status by Repealing Board Policy L2, introduced by Supervisor Desmond. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. I just want to have the opportunity to explain what this item was. So I'm bringing this issue forward today as a matter of public safety. The original author of this policy has since resigned, and I believe it's time to correct this policy. So let me be absolutely clear. We're only talking about people here illegally who've been convicted of a high-level crime. People have been arrested, they've gone through the justice system, and are now in our jails. This is not about mass deportation or sweeps. Under the current policy, we are facilitating, in my mind, hardened criminals who are in this country illegally and potentially allowing them to walk free by facilitating them, or actually through increased democracy, but allowing them to walk free instead of being removed from our communities. This is not about law-abiding immigrants. This is about violent criminals, rapists, child abusers, burglars, those who have been assaulted innocent people. These individuals should not be allowed to remain in our country after committing such heinous crimes. In 2023 alone, San Diego County transferred 25 convicted criminals to ICE, people who had committed serious offenses like kidnapping, burglary, and felony DUI. This cooperation between law enforcement and federal immigration authorities makes our communities safer. But under the current policy, this process has been hobbled by more bureaucracy. This policy could even allow criminals who are here illegally be released back into our streets instead of being deported, and that is unacceptable. The vast majority of Americans, over 80%, according to a recent Associated Press poll, agree that illegal immigrants convicted of violent crimes should be deported. And this is not a partisan issue. This has bipartisan support, and this is common sense. Yet time and again, we see fear being used to push a different narrative. They tell us about mass deportations are coming. They tell us that families are going to be torn apart. They're telling you to be afraid, but here's the truth. That is not happening with what's being proposed today. What is happening is that dangerous criminals are being protected at the expense of law-abiding residents. What's happening is that political agendas are being prioritized over public safety, and I think that is reckless and dangerous. This is not about all immigrants. This is only about the criminals in our jails that are here illegally. And if someone is here illegally and they've been convicted of a violent crime, they should not be allowed to stay, period. I believe in law and order, and I believe in protecting the people of San Diego County, and I believe that direct communication between law enforcement and ICE is critical to keeping our communities safe. And it is much safer and less invasive for federal immigration authorities to remove criminals from jails as opposed to having to go into neighborhoods and immigrant neighborhoods after they've been let out of jail to arrest them. It's much safer to do that while these folks are in jails, to remove them instead of once they're out in the communities. I want to reiterate this one more time. These are the people that have been arrested, gone through the justice system, and now in our jails. And by federal law, if you're an illegal immigrant and you're a victim of a violent crime and you report it, you are protected federally from being deported. So this is no way deterring people from reporting crimes, as they are already protected. We must put public safety first, and that starts right here, right now, by restoring law enforcement's ability to directly work with ICE to remove dangerous criminals from our communities. And with that, I'll make a motion to support to get rid of this super sanctuary status in San Diego County by repealing Board Policy L2 and all the recommendations in item 9. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present that.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now turn to public comment, and then we will have a discussion among our fellow board members.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 41 requests to speak on this item, 24 in person, 17 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 268 e-comments, 21 in favor, 241 opposed, and 2 neutral. Any individual that requested to speak on item 9 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. We'll start with those in favor of this item. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. I will be calling you in groups of 3, so I'll ask you to please listen for your name. Because there are 15 or more speakers on this item, individuals will have 1 minute to address the board, and we'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record. I'd like to invite forward first Michael Brando, Peter Noper, and Pam. If I've called your name, please come forward. I'd also like to note for the record that we received 7 individuals registered their opposition but did not wish to address the board. So with that, we'll begin with our speakers. Thank you.
Michael, I'm glad to support Desmond in this, and hopefully Joel will join him. I do want to add a caveat. This is about political theater. The whole thing of Biden having the borders open and Nora and all of them going berserk and allowing that to happen, and now Trump coming in and doing the exact opposite. This is basically about manipulating people at large. But it is important to make sure people are safe. People people that say that this is not about making people safe are actually anti-human. And I want to emphasize the nexus to this. When Nora Vargas put this forward, she went berserk, as she did many, many times, where she actually called people, mocked people, xenophobic. Anyone who disagreed with her were evil and xenophobic. That's the nature of this beast. But I'm glad Desmond brought this forward.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mr. Desmond, thank you for, I support your repealing policy L2.
Can you please state your name?
Oh, my name is Peter Noper. It is the government's primary responsibility to provide safety and security for the people. And this is anti-safety and anti-security. But not only that, it goes on to, we have to have secure borders to be a sovereign country. And L2, policy L2 is destructive to that end. If we're not a sovereign country, the United States Constitution will no longer exist. The destruction of our Constitution starts right here with policies like L2. So, well, I guess I'm cut down to 1 minute. So when you say that flag salute, you really need to place your hand over your heart and think that you are talking to your divine soul and you are supporting the Constitution of the United States. And please don't lie to yourself.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite the remaining speakers in favor, Dorothea Flanagan and Oliver Twist. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Pam, yes on this. And yes, we're back. This is a core principle for this county. We are a nation of Americans, and those of us in support of this item love our country. Convicted violent criminal, illegal foreigners are not community members. They're not San Diegans. They're not asylum seekers. They're not newcomers, and they're definitely not new Americans. Biden and his sinister puppet masters opened the southern border for the reason of destruction of this country and to remain in power. They let in killers, gang members, and other violent criminals to freely inflict harm, danger, chaos, and death on innocent people, including women and children. The super sanctuary policy is a direct lie to the people in this county because it will only protect convicted violent criminals illegally present in this country. Tara and Monica, you voted in favor of prioritizing these criminals over residents who voted for you, the marginalized communities that you always wave your flag to champion. You're cowardly.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Honorable San Diego County Board of Supervisors. I'm Dorothea Flanagan from Gopher Canyon. Both of my parents are immigrants. My grandfather had to be in America 5 years coming from Yugoslavia before he could get his 5 children and wife over here. He did it the right way. That was a bad case there. I'm here to support my supervisor, Jim Desmond, for proposing a repeal to the folly of a super sanctuary status. Let ICE do their job. We want to be safe. It takes courage to undo a wrong decision. I can't imagine someone wanting to protect serious criminals who don't even belong in the U.S. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, Oliver Twist, and I was not going to speak on this until I saw some discourtesy and civility going on. So again, this is going on for both sides, and you need to really be aware, and I would like you to call it out. I do support this very much, and I think it's interesting that sovereignty doesn't seem to matter to a lot of people, but it's the core of our nation and who we are. Sovereignty matters on the dais, not just anybody can get up there. Sovereignty matters in the community college classroom or the San Diego State. You can't just show up and be in the class. You have to be registered. There's a process for people to participate. And I would point you to the Corey Goat on social media. He had a post today about the power grid and having found a power transformer that had been rerouted and the threat to our grid. This is the kind of action that we need to keep our country safe, both immigrants here and also for the citizens. So please support this measure. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. We'll now hear from those that are in opposition to this item. Again, I'll be calling you in groups of 3, so I'll ask you to please listen for your name. I'd like to invite forward allegedly Audra, Mark, and Brian Kogel. If I've called your name, please come forward. You're welcome to come forward in any order. Again, first 3 speakers, Audra, Mark, and Brian Kogel.
Mark, 1 minute is criminal. These are titles of articles about immigrants committing crimes since all this has been permitted with the borders. So I want you to see all these articles. Also, what's the cause of this? Who wants this? This is a common tactic. We actually do it to other countries. Like when we want to take them down, we invade them with people who don't share the values until they're just overridden. And then usually we arm them and they take over the leader and then we put our own guy in. This is a typical tactic. The globalists are doing it to us. You need to see these videos. There's real reasons this is happening. This is not accidental. They want us to be the North American Union, like there's a European Union and an Asian Union, and eventually a global union, which is the goal. Global governance, it's totally against our sovereignty. You need to see these videos. This is Sandag, 1 hour and 22 minutes and 50 seconds, limiting your movement. Very important.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
A minute is a crime.
Good morning, I'm Brian Kogel with the San Diego Organizing Project. I speak to you today encouraged by the example of the heroic Bishop Booty, who recently had the courage and moral fortitude to speak truth to power. As MAGA does, they ignored the truth, and they clearly cowered when confronted with truth. I certainly hope for more from this board today. I strongly urge you to respect human rights and family values. Separating families and deportations are not patriotic and do not reflect the moral values of most citizens. Cooperation with ICE and other immigration officials to tear apart families is just plain immoral and wrong. County resources must be allocated to improving the lives of those who live in the city, not towards tearing families apart or supporting the hate-filled agenda of a delusional, unstable, convicted felon, his fellow billionaires, and Project 2025. Mr. Desmond, this is not about public safety. Hypocritical concerns about public safety.
Thank you. Thank you. Your time is up, sir. Sir, your time is up. Your time is up, sir. Thank you. Call for the next 3 speakers as the following speakers coming down: AJ Estrada, Aaron Suramoto Grassi, and Patricia Mondragon. If I've called your name, please come forward.
My person uses the name Audra. It's now worth your time to do this? Why? Why is it worth your time now, after you could have been ahead of this when I came and was talking to you about it, and it wasn't worth your time. So now somehow it is. It's interesting. And it's interesting to see how confused people are, especially the people behind me who have been aiding and abetting illegals for a very long time, getting paid to do it. And they're spreading misinformation by acting like this is going to tear families apart. It's going to tear families apart. You guys are so confused. And as long as you keep spreading that misinformation, you're terrifying the people in your own community, and it is like mind-boggling, because as long as they can gaslight somebody else, they don't have to take responsibility for what they've been doing, and you are complicit, and you will be held accountable for, like the little girl that was raped that you guys like to ignore. But yeah, 8 U.S.C. 1324 will come after you guys for aiding and abetting. So we'll see what happens, Jim.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Okay, please pause. Just reminding everyone to not disrupt these proceedings. That means no clapping. That means no profanity. So I think we've actually been doing quite well today. So let's continue doing a good job. Thank you very much. Please continue.
Good morning. My name is AJ Estrada. I'm a proud resident of Chula Vista. And like 19% of US-born citizens, I was raised in a home with at least one immigrant parent. I'm here today to raise concerns, the concerns of everyday normal San Diegans living in this county, residents who are living in fear because of the dangerous anti-American demagoguery that brought this item forward. The truth is that compared to US-born Americans, undocumented immigrants are 26% less likely to be convicted of homicide, 50% less likely to be arrested for violent crimes. Certainly this is not for public safety. So what is this about? Well, let's say we have two individuals, an American and an immigrant, both commit a crime. If this policy is repealed, what you are essentially asking for is for that immigrant to not receive due process, to not be judged by a jury of its peers, and to be released, get out of jail free card into their home country. I don't know about you, sir, but that doesn't sound very law and order to me. The real goal here is to make communities like mine, my family, my mother, my wife, be afraid to participate in civil society. Shame on you.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning, supervisors. My name is Erin Suramoto-Grassi. I'm the Associate Director at Alliance San Diego. We stand strongly opposed to item 9, an attempt to repeal the County Board Policy L2. We know from years of working with community members that community trust in local government and law enforcement is lost when our local agencies collude with federal immigration agencies. Victims and witnesses are less likely to call the sheriff when there's a crime. Individuals are less likely to access important county programs such as vaccines and health care when they are afraid that they might be at risk of deportation, and that impacts the public health and public safety of all of us. Additionally, policy L2 is about equity. At the end of the day, it's about whether or not we believe that everyone should have due process and be treated the same. And the reality is the sheriff releases individuals with the exact same criminal convictions that they have been transferring folks to ICE with every single day. In fact, we actually PRA'd that in 2021, and it was over 10 times more.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you. Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite 3 additional speakers, Jesse Schmitty, Ken Herman, and Mia T. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Patricia Mondragon, Regional Policy Manager at Alliance San Diego and the daughter of immigrants. San Diego is a proud region of immigrants and welcoming values. San Diego has lower crime rates than the national average and is among the lowest in the United States with a lower violent crime rate than similar-sized metro areas. Our region also welcomes tens of millions of tourists each year, and according to surveys, over 95% of visitors report feeling safe in San Diego. We are also a region facing many pressing challenges. We need county resources to go to local priorities like housing, public health, disaster preparedness, and a welcoming infrastructure. Welcoming policies do not increase crimes, they reduce them. Studies show a direct correlation between welcoming regions and lower crime rates. They are safer because they build trust in the community. This board letter undermines that trust. Any policy that amplifies fear of detention and deportation makes cities more dangerous. Welcoming policies say we will not hate each other, but we will help each other. Please vote no on item 9 and uphold these values.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Vice Chair and members of the board. My name is Jesse Schmitty, State Policy Manager for Alliance San Diego, and I stand before you today in strong opposition to the proposed repeal of L2. It is absolutely appalling that we are back here again. The false narrative being driven regarding the status of our immigrant community is gross. We should not be using our local tax dollars to fund the enforcement activities of the federal government. Our county sheriff can't even keep inmates alive with the resources the department does have, and now we want to go the extra mile to help the federal government who's cutting funding at the local level. We will not wager on the lives of those who need us most. The next time you want your garden landscaped or food on your table, our people are going to be there to serve you because we serve with humanity and dignity. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. I'm Mia T. I'm a legal research intern with Community Advocates for Just and Moral Governance, as well as a member of the ACLU SDIC and a criminal justice major. I strongly oppose the repeal of Board Policy L2. Multiple studies have found that sanctuary policies reduce deportations without increasing crime rates. Repealing Policy L2 could discourage victims and witnesses from coming forward, which will weaken trust in law enforcement and compromise public safety. California Government Code 7284.6 already permits local law enforcement to cooperate with federal immigration authorities in cases involving serious and violent felonies. Therefore, repealing this policy is unnecessary, pushes mass deportation rhetoric, and will erode trust that is vital for effective policing. I urge you to keep Policy L2 in place. Thank you.
Thank you. As next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite 3 additional speakers: Anna Ramos, Barbara Pinto, and Nicole Lee. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Good morning. My name is Ken Herman. I'm a resident of North Park, and I'm also on the board of Justice Overcoming Boundaries, a community organization. I believe this board made a wise decision by passing L2, limiting our cooperation with ICE, given the current programs of ICE. I believe maintaining L2 is more important than ever. I think when we look back on this current mass deportation, we will have the same shame as when we look back on the incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Anna Ramos with Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment. I think it's important for us to remember and be very clear on this. Migration is not a crime. We have to remember that the L2 policy is against using county resources to help the federal government criminalize all immigrants. This is directly against your oath to uphold and do everything in your power to keep San Diego residents safe. And yes, undocumented and immigrant folks are our neighbors and families. I care about them, we care about them, and we strongly oppose enabling the county and cooperating with DHS and ICE and separating these families. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Pinto. I'm a member of ACE, and I am against the rescinding of this board letter set to add more police and sheriff authority to aid ACE for the deportation of the immigrants. There is no guarantee of how these people are going to be treated. I would like to share that in 1970, my husband was brutally beaten by the San Diego Police Department, almost to the point of death. He was not arrested or charged with any crime, and later that night was released from the San Diego County Jail. Deporting these people is like pouring water on drowning families. Unless you were a resident born in the United States, some part of your family is an immigrant anyway. All of these people should have the right to a fair hearing, advised by proper authorities. The money that was invested in this type of thing is wrong.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, we must, your time is expired. Thank you very much.
So next speaker is coming forward. I'll call 3 additional speakers: Flower Alvarez, Danny Loza, and Susana Juarez. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Hi, my name is Nicole Lee. I'm an organizer with ACE. And let me just say this repeal attempt is a direct attack on our immigrant communities. It's an attack on all of our communities who have loved ones, friends, and families who are immigrants. It's an attack on basic human rights. Here's something that I believe in. No human being is illegal. And let me make it clear. No one's existence should be declared as against the law of the land. And if you disagree with me, if you think this is not true, then most people here are illegal. If that's the case, then the only legal people here are Native American people who are the original caretakers of the land. I oppose this attempt to repeal the county immigration policy. I do not consent to you using my tax dollars to deport our communities, whether in jail or not.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. I've called your name. Please come forward.
Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Daniel Osa. Soy miembro de LEIS.
Okay, good morning. My name is Daniel Osa, and I'm a member of ACE.
Quiero decir que estoy en contra de revocar la póliza
L2. Okay.
L2.
I would like to tell you that I'm against, the dismissal of the policy L2.
No estoy de acuerdo en usar recursos públicos para ayudar al gobierno federal en arrestar.
Okay, and I don't agree. I don't agree with using the public resources in order to help the federal government and for them to arrest people.
Y criminales a nuestros amigos inmigrantes no todos son malos.
And also, because they are against, our immigrant friends, not all of them are bad.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Gracias.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Susana Juarez or Flower Alvarez.
Okay, she's going to try in English first. Okay?
Good morning, every one of you. The reason I'm here is because I don't agree about to take off the policy L2 because I think this policy is it's in favor of the people indocumentados que están aquí, who are here.
Can you please state your name?
¿Cuál es su nombre?
My name is Susana Juarez, and I belong to ACE, Alliance of California for the Community Empowerment, and that's what I'm talking. Because the thing I want you to know is because I think no one is as good as it is. I would like to know the trayectoria, ¿cómo se dice trayectoria?
The running
of the person who don't want this policy, because maybe we started the life of those people, we can find the reason. And we need the indocumentados hands to work for us because I think the people who live here, they know.
Thank you. Thank you. Your time is up.
Please, our time has expired, so thank you very much. Our time has expired, so we have to be respectful to everybody who's here to speak. Thank you. Next person.
I'll now call 3 additional speakers, Esther Meneses, Gary Brown, and Ashley Mendiola. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Hola, muy buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Esther Meneses.
Good morning to all of you. My name is Esther Meneses.
Miembro de la organización ACE.
And I'm also a member of ACE.
Estoy aquí para pedirles que no sea anulada la póliza L2.
Okay, and I'm here to ask you not to go ahead and revoke policy number 2.
Que fue aprobada por Nora Vargas el año pasado.
Which this policy was approved by Nora Vargas last year.
De ser removida, eso haría que ICE tuviera más recursos para arrestar a nuestra gente.
Because if it's revoked, what would happen is that ICE would have more resources, to arrest our people.
Me doy cuenta que hoy que está este nuevo presidente,
okay. And I also realize now that we have this new president,
está saliendo toda la gente racista que tenemos aquí en California.
All these racist people are coming out. All of the people who we have that are racist here in California.
Nuestra comunidad merece vivir sin miedo.
Okay. In our community, we deserve to live without any type of fear.
De ir a hospitales, de ir a las escuelas, de ir a las tiendas.
To go to the hospitals, to go to the schools, to go to the stores.
Así que por favor pónganse la mano en el corazón.
Okay, please place your hand in your heart.
Y hagan una buena decisión.
And please make a good decision.
Thank you. Have a one day for you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, good morning. My name is Ashley Mendiola. I'm an organizer with San Diego Organizing Project. Every person, regardless of their legal status, has the right to due process, which is the ability to reject an interview with ICE at any time under sheriff custody, and may reject an interview with ICE until there's a lawyer present. I ask you to oppose this measure because the consent form for Immigration and Customs Enforcement interview J330 is protecting immigrant families. We know if this policy gets repealed, they won't only be deporting criminals, but will also increase the deportation of individuals who are working to provide a better life for their families, regardless of their criminal history. I urge you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite the final speaker in opposition, Thelma Navarro. Call your name, please come forward.
Hi, my name is Gary Brown. I'm on the board of San Diego Organizing Project. I ask you, the county supervisors, to retain, not rescind, policy L2 for 3 reasons. First, ironically, rescinding policy L2 will increase community fears and distrust of the sheriff and decrease community cooperation with law enforcement. Secondly, as pointed out by Mr. Desmond, the county already has the power and resources to arrest convicted people. If they're already jailed, it appears to me that they're separated already from the community. Thirdly, please do not waste county time, facilities, and funding to cooperate with federal mass deportation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Thelma Navarro, and I'm a researcher and policy advocate with the Center on Policy Initiatives. Local governments should focus their resources on serving residents instead of voluntarily collaborating with ICE, subjecting San Diegans to the trauma, economic instability, and devastation caused by family separation and deportations. Bringing this item forward is nothing but a publicity stunt, a fear-mongering tactic meant to vilify our immigrant and refugee communities, which I am proudly a part of. Though our value as immigrants is not dependent on our financial contribution, it is necessary that we recognize the economic advantage of safely accessing employment and services such as education and healthcare. Repealing our super sanctuary status will take back progress, is contradictory to the values of our multinational community, and will lead to increased discrimination and unjust policing on Black, Indigenous, and other people of color. We call on the Board of Supervisors to vote against repealing the super sanctuary status and instead call on the Board of Supervisors to prioritize the health and safety of all San Diegans. Thank you.
Thank you. Final call for Flower Alvarez. Not seeing any movement in the chamber. We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. Again, when it is your turn to speak, you will be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'll remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. We will start with our first caller.
Thank you, Jim. We cannot allow San Diego County to offer protection to known criminals. Safety should be a top priority for the Board of Supervisors. By the way, I don't think that ICE arrests innocent people any more than the police of whatever city you're in. As for family separation, I don't think I would care that Daddy was sent out of the country if he was really violent. In addition, I do not think it would be responsible to take time, effort, and taxpayer money from the duty to protect the safety and well-being of San Diego County and the United States citizens for a wild goose chase of defending non-citizens. Plus, we should be obeying federal law as well as your warped ones. Yes, we welcome people, but only those who.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Good morning. My name is Becky Rapp, and I come in support of Supervisor Desmond's continued efforts in ending super sanctuary county status. We've been facing a series of serious issues affecting the safety of our community. Recently, the U.S. Coast Guard reported on the significant uptick in migrant boat interactions off our coast. And these illegal crossings are not limited to migrants from Mexico, but include individuals from many countries like China, Russia, and Pakistan. With this, San Diego has seen a rise in marijuana and other drugs being smuggled in. Criminal organizations are taking advantage of gaps in regulations, trafficking drugs into our communities and bringing with them violence and human trafficking. Recently, nearly 1,500 pounds of marijuana was concealed within wooden furniture. San Diego's sanctuary policies limit local cooperation with federal authorities like ICE, further complicating the situation. By protecting criminals from deportation.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Hi, my name is Felicia Gomez, and I'm the Senior Policy Advocate for Immigrant Rights at the ACLU of San Diego and Imperial Counties. We strongly oppose Agenda Item Number 9, which would repeal the San Diego County Sanctuary Policy, otherwise known as Board Policy L2. This policy is an achievement that took years to accomplish and serves as a milestone in our ongoing work to end all collaboration between the San Diego Sheriff's Department and DHS agencies, including ICE and Border Patrol. San Diego County Sanctuary Policy ensures our limited local resources are used to address local needs, rather than fund the federal government's mass deportation agenda. Repealing this policy would betray our values, roll back our hard-fought progress, and harm our border county. State and federal law makes it clear that local governments have every right to focus their resources on serving their own residents instead of voluntarily choosing to collaborate with ICE. We are disappointed to see our county sanctuary policy be used as a pawn to fearmonger, elevate anti-immigrant rhetoric, and sow division both locally and on the national stage. In this moment, we need our elected officials to...
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
My name is Julie Martinez. I oppose Desmond's recent move to end sanctuary. I am a Fallbrook resident, so I'm in his district. This is pure PR and pure theater. I have tried to find any information on Supervisor Desmond's opposition to the pardoning of criminals from January 6th. I do come from a law enforcement family, and I'm appalled that Jim Desmond is using immigrants to try to claim they're making our community less safe. Jim Desmond should be aware that many of the defendants that were pardoned had committed domestic violence, manslaughter, had been accused of and prosecuted for production of child sexual abuse material and drug trafficking. He is not seeming to be able to make a statement against the pardoning of these criminals being released in our community, and yet he demonizes immigrant community. We will be a safer community.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
My name is Pedro Rios. I'm calling from the American Friends Service Committee's U.S.-Mexico Border Program. And I'm calling in opposition to Item 9. Opportunism and political expediency are deplorable ways of effectuating public policy. Supervisor Desmond is choosing to do this by proposing the elimination of Board Policy L2. When implementation of that policy has yet to take place, and District 1 is not yet represented on the board. Exploiting anti-immigrant fervor with the intention of disenfranchising those who would be directly affected is cruel, irresponsible, and that's also reprehensible. We urge the Board of Supervisors to oppose its misguided proposal and to move forward with implementing Board Policy L2. No to political opportunism and no to super opportunism by Supervisor Desmond. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Margaret Baker, District 1. On behalf of South Bay People Power, I'm calling to express our strong opposition to Agenda Item 9 and to urge you to vote no on this backwards and misguided proposal. We join the majority of San Diegans in demanding that our limited local resources be used to address local needs rather than pave the way for unjust double punishment and other cruel anti-immigrant practices. When immigrant community members are released from custody, they should not be forced into extended incarceration and separation from their family, community, and jobs. We also strongly object to the offensive language and disgusting lies used by elected officials trying to score political points and scapegoat at the expense of people they are supposed to serve. Our county policies and practices must align with the values of truth, fairness, and dignity that bring real safety and security to all our families and neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I hear from the next caller.
Good morning. This is Peggy Walker. What many are missing here is the super in this erroneous super sanctuary policy. It takes an extreme step far beyond state sanctuary law to allow illegal immigrants who are already in custody and accused of serious crimes like drug trafficking, human trafficking back into the community. This undermines public safety. We respect Sheriff Kelly Martinez's decision to continue to follow state law. All that's being asked here for the staff report is to repeal the super sanctuary status. That's not racist, discriminatory, nor anti-immigrant. It's anti-crime. Thank you, Supervisor Desmond. I hope you will repeal this. Only chaos results when some, even supervisors, decide to follow only the laws that they like. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I hear from the next caller.
Kevin Stevenson, District 5 constituent of Jim Desmond's. I am a hell no to this. I would like to remind Mr. Desmond that, first off, no one is illegal on stolen land. And second, I would like to remind Mr. Desmond that there have been multiple protests against ICE within the boundaries of his district. Oceanside, Vista, Escondido, I believe they're San Marcos as well. So he can appeal to the racists that helped him get elected in the first place all he wants, but the majority of people across San Diego County, and I would argue the majority of people in his district, are against Item 9 and in favor of keeping this sanctuary law. I would encourage the board to vote no on this because this is against San Diego County's values. We don't need to be pandering to the Gestapo like Tom Homan and Donald Trump. We should be standing up for our migrant allies, not.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
My name is Katrina McDonald. I'm a resident of District 4, and I'm calling in opposition of this board item. Desmond has previously shown that he is anti-unhoused, and this just proves he is also anti-migrant as well, with a thinly veiled view to try and make a pander to the red hats to get himself elected for whatever reason he thinks he deserves a better station. It's not about his statement of saying this is for crime. This is so he can profile people and then punish them as he seems fit with his worldview, not with the worldview of San Diego. We are a city of migrants. We are a city that is made up of a bunch of different people, and deciding that you are classifying one group as illegal is against our values, America's values, and basically just being a generally good person. I strongly advise you to vote against this because, as he's shown, he is for making the others and making us hate them instead of fixing the problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Stephanie Becker. Thank you, Jim, for showing us that there's at least one member on this board that has some sane way of thinking. I'm not sure where we lost the definition of legal and illegal, but we are now talking about illegal criminals. Everybody that crosses that border without going through an asylum entry or going through the process to come here legally is illegal. Once you're an illegal criminal, that puts you in a whole different section of people, and they need to be deported. That's a fact. It doesn't matter that we have our own criminals. We can't deport our own criminals. They are ours, and we have to keep them in our jails. Our jails are overcrowded. We're allowing more and more people out on lesser crimes because we don't have the room. It is not our job to keep illegal criminals. And this whole notion of everybody arguing that they're your landscapers, your housekeepers, well, illegal people, even non-criminal illegals, are not supposed to be working in this country. My suggestion is the county use their budget to buy everybody a dictionary, because we definitely need.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Paulina Reyes, District 4. I'm also an immigrant and a managing attorney with Immigrant Defenders Law Center that focuses on deportation defense. I strongly oppose this item. Repealing Board Policy L2 directly affects all immigrants, not only those without status, who have lived and worked in San Diego County. This includes lawful permanent residents, refugees, many who have lived here for many years, who could be military veterans, business owners, students, and have families, but all of whom have the right to be treated with dignity. The policy passed in December gives the Sheriff's Department the ability to continue doing their jobs to enforce state and local laws without any restrictions. Instead, the Sheriff's time and resources will be wasted to help ICE's unlawful practices of arresting people and holding them in ICE prisons for a prolonged time without due process. Just like any other law enforcement agency, ICE agents need to follow lawful procedures, such as having a warrant to arrest someone. We need to hold the federal government accountable. This Board Policy L2 does exactly that.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Kathleen Lippitz, and I support Supervisor Desmond's suggestion to eliminate the super sanctuary policy of the County of San Diego. The same tactic of conflating terms that once were previously understood by many, and that is the terminology of illegal versus legal. The countries that don't protect any of these, of their own people, then come here for protection. And it is the right of citizens and residents of the United States to be able to determine who comes in their house. People have doors on their homes. They don't just let in everybody. You don't open your door to everyone because not everyone is safe to be allowed in. That's all that is being done here. So thank you, Supervisor. And
thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Hey, how you guys doing? Here's another thing. Tara's wonderful rule, which was really Claudia's rule about limiting the time of speech. Did you know these organizations calling in could go ahead and submit a bunch of phone calls? They don't actually have to call in, so you could have 750, and this will silence all dissenting points of view, basically furthering my point that the laws that they're creating are designed to help the organizations, the groups, that they have an open door policy while closing the door on the public, where they do not have to listen to the people, which all the politicians are basically saying that to your face with no consequences. What about this whole topic issue? Because I'm clearly not talking about the topic, Claudia. Aren't you going to go ahead and give her a head nod, telling her to shut me up this time? Giving me my third warning, telling you that I'm not allowed to talk in the Board of Supervisors meeting. Isn't that what?
For the record, the speaker is Justin Castro. We'll now hear from the next caller.
You know, Lincoln Riley's family was also torn apart. Here we go. Manufactured chaos. Once again, the people are being played and pitted against each other. Divide and conquer. Listen up. It is truly not red versus blue. It is the state versus you. Keep playing into their divisive rhetoric, continue voting in their games of lies. And it's funny how the people who want smaller government want government to fix everything. Holman ain't going to be your savior. It's you. It's you who's going to do it. Unless you're involved in contributing to real change, nothing will ever improve. So arm yourselves with knowledge, get involved, not only when it affects you, get involved because what they do affects us all. We continue paying for our own demise, our literal enslavement via taxes. Tax cattle, indentured servants is all we are. This is Consuelo.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
It's Truth went berserk. Nora, Monica the Minion, and Tara the Terror voted for this. They actually did so in violation of state and federal law. But, Jim, you might want to have a word with Spaghetti-O Joel over there, who doesn't seem to think there's an issue with his fellow Democrats' past sanctuary decision. It had no teeth, no meat, no meaning at all. Isn't that right, Joel? That might be true since nothing you guys do really has any meaning in anyone in the county. And, of course, Jim just wants that congressional seat. That seems to be the only time you or most Republicans actually speak up about anything. Everybody's posturing for political positions at the country's expense. Why did Joel vote to waste millions of American tax dollars on migrant shelters? See, all the inauthentic fakes expose themselves. The lies come up like SpaghettiOs out of Joel's mouth when he eats. There's a reason why so many people came out to the D2 city of El Cajon to support ending the county sanctuary status, Joel, because it actually matters to the people you've been failing to represent for years. How much did ACE or the organizing project pay the same old people to show up? Un-American paid political change agents, leave my people's native land now. Quit being hypocrites.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to call on Supervisor Montgomery Stepp first because Supervisor Desmond, you introduced your item, and then I'll go to you. Oh, you go ahead. Okay, Supervisor Desmond, go ahead.
Okay, I want to be absolutely clear that this repeal is only about people here illegally who have been convicted of a high-level crime. People who have been arrested. They've gone through the justice system, they've been given due process, and they are in our jails. This is not about mass deportation. This is about deporting people here illegally who've been convicted of a high-level crime, including assault, rape, sexual abuse, sexual exploitation, and crimes of endangering children, burglary, possession of an unlawful deadly weapon, gang-related offenses, hate crimes, stalking, elder and dependent abuse, kidnapping, and arson. This is not about mass deportation. Thank you.
Supervisor Montgomery Stepp.
Thank you so much. I think I'm going to stick to what I have on paper because I think it's important to run down the facts. Very important. For those that care about facts, that's what I'm going to do. So when the board policy first came to us in December, I did have some reservations, but not on the substance. It was more a procedural question that I had. And that was whether this would have any practical effect based on the fact that the sheriff is an independent elected official that generally can set her own policy for her own department. She is held accountable to the Attorney General and not the Board of Supervisors. Shortly after we voted, I voted to support policy L2, proudly to support policy L2. The sheriff announced that she was going to do her own thing, right? Since then, and in this chambers, and Supervisor, you as well, this term, super sanctuary, reminds me a little bit of a term that was used in the 80s and 90s that actually wrecked communities, super predators. It's the same type of rhetoric over. I've heard the people that support this are anti-human. I think we need to be reminded the history of this country. I salute that flag along with everyone else. the people that I have descended from were not immigrants. They were descendants of enslaved people, brought here not by choice. And they continued through the iterations of our nation's history to be enslaved in one way or the other, one being these localities establishing slave patrol to make sure that people of color, Black people, were kept enslaved even though technically they were freed. So all of these things, if it were in the spirit of being fair and really promoting public safety, then we'd be having a different conversation. But we have not yet gotten to the root of what this country is about. And so most things that come forward in this nature, even if it's with good intent, don't have that, they don't serve that purpose when they are implemented, because they are implemented in systems that were originally made to keep people enslaved. And so this is not very different from that. But still, even in the very wording of Policy L2, it doesn't protect criminals. What it was about is ensuring that this county stays in its lane and protects our region, and that the federal government stays in its lane. What do I mean by that? First, immigration enforcement and removal proceedings are federal functions. And I gotta tell you, looking at up to $1 billion that is up in the air based on these additional cuts that this administration is pushing for, I really don't think it's in our best interest to continue to invest in even higher levels for our local law enforcement to do the federal government's job. We are responsible for enforcing state and county law. And we do have jails for a reason. But the County of San Diego does not set or enforce immigration policy. Our resources are limited. Second, this policy in no way affects the enforcement of criminal laws in San Diego County. As the U.S. Supreme Court has explained, and I'm going to quote it directly even though I don't like one of the words used, it is not a crime for a removable alien or undocumented person to remain present in the United States. The removal of migrants is not authorized to be in the United States or enforced in civil proceedings and not under civil proceedings under federal civil law. And Policy L2 clearly states this policy does not limit or prohibit giving assistance with the investigative activities of any local, state, or federal law enforcement agency related to suspected violations of criminal laws. It's in there. Please, reading is freaking fundamental. It is in the policy. It's in there. So the argument that it makes us less safe, it doesn't hold up to reality. In fact, a rigorous empirical study published in 2020 showed that counties with policies limiting cooperation with ICE saw no detectable effect on crime. Other studies even show a decrease in crime as it increases trust between law enforcement and the community and leads to better enforcement of state criminal laws. I'm aware of no reputable studies showing that so-called sanctuary policies cause an increase in crime. Lastly, I want to say our community is fearful right now. Even if it's not the intent to instill more fear into people, that's exactly what us even bringing this up in this arena is doing right now. I have heard from many constituents who have told me that the new administration's show of force in immigration enforcement has made them scared to go to the doctor, go grocery shopping, get on public transit. And this goes for documented people, too, who are afraid of getting mistakenly swept up in ICE raids. I just don't think it's the time to send the message to our community that we will work more closely with ICE. I think out of all the programs that are going to be cut, ICE ain't one of them with this administration. They will have plenty of resources to do whatever it is legally they're allowed to do. So I'm not going to be supporting this today. I don't think that this necessarily accomplishes anything. And, you know, the discussion, we will continue to have these discussions, I know, right? Because people see the world differently, and I understand that. But I just think in so many ways that I've listed, this is not the way that we should go. The sheriff has said what she has said. We should leave it at that and try to work together to figure out how we're going to take care of hundreds and thousands of people possibly that are going to lose their health insurance, they're going to lose their SNAP benefits, they're going to lose TANF, they're going to lose all these things. And this is what we're talking about. So I'm going to oppose this. Appreciate the conversation.
Supervisor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I second the motion. The Supervisor Montgomery Stepp, I appreciate you pointing out our sheriff is duly elected. We're not a city. We don't pick our police chief. We don't fire our police chief. She's duly elected, and it's hers to enforce or not to enforce. To me, it was a waste of time to start with, and it's a waste of time that we're having to go through this. I represent 200,000 people that live in the unincorporated, that live in fear each and every day that their house is going to burn down. And we're talking about this as opposed to focusing on protecting people unlike Mayor Bass, who neglected her city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Supervisor Desmond, a second by Supervisor Anderson. Please vote.
Vice Chair, that motion fails with Supervisor Lawson-Remer abstaining and Supervisor Montgomery Stepp voting no, and Supervisors Anderson and Desmond voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll do our next item, which is item 10. And after item 10, we will take a lunch recess. So, okay. Item 10, do you, Supervisor Anderson, this is your item. Do you want to introduce it before we go to public comment?
Sure, I'll be happy to. Essentially, we've seen some turnover on this board, and we didn't have any policies in place. And so we worked very closely with the clerk to put policies in place that make sense. In effect, this is what we've been doing, but there's no policy that states it. So all we're doing is codifying current practice so that when people call my office, I can send them the policy and not say, this is how I think we're going to do it. I hope that's helpful.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, we'll go to public comment, and then we'll have opportunity for board discussion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 11 requests to speak on this item, 2 in person and 9 requesting to speak by phone. Also note that we received 1 e-comment in opposition. For any individuals that requested to speak at item 10 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. Both speakers are in opposition. I'd like to invite forward allegedly Audra and Mark. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. Let's get it. Please begin by stating your name for the audio record.
My person uses the name Audra. What an interesting item, as we've had so many people just taken off from the Board of Supervisors. Like, the people don't even have to remove you guys, you remove yourselves. It's pretty cool. It is, because I feel like every time someone's going to be chair, it's like, dun, 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 they're going to wind up resigning from something and then blaming it on the people, like, I'm so afraid of the people. Oh my gosh. Oh. But it's interesting, so you guys now want to be able to remove a board member too. How cool is that, right? Are we just going to pick somebody to target? Who are we going to pick next? Ebony? You going to pick someone, or are you going to be picked? Who knows, right? Andrew? I don't know. I think you're doing a pretty good job, even though I feel like you're on the wrong side of things. You're still very nice, so I don't think it will be you. But Jim, will it be you? I don't know, because what do you think? I mean, do you got friends there? Is everybody supportive of you? I don't know. Joel? You do eat a lot. And, you know, is that some vodka in there? keeping it real, right? I mean, it's the only way to get through these meetings, I bet. So who's it going to be? I don't know. Claudia. It would be fantastic if it was you, because you're the one lying to everybody and telling them what they're doing is legal. Oh, my gosh. Oh, man, you guys make life fun. I mean, it's always interesting, just like, Tara, will it be you? I don't know. I mean, maybe you don't want to be chair. I'm telling you, because then you're going to be next. You guys know that, right? I mean, whoever is sitting in that seat is going to be gone next, and quicker than before. That's what's so fun, is to watch it. It's like self-destruction, implosion at its finest. It's great. It is, because it's like, oh my gosh, did I think Nathan Fletcher would go anywhere? Heck no. People are actually thanking me for it, and I was like, he did that himself. What are you talking about? So good luck, Tara. It'll be nice to see you on the other side.
To invite forward the next speaker.
Mark, this is a no-brainer. Obviously, to be honest, you guys are on your little party sides. There's some people who are more toward the middle of their party or whatever, but closer to the other side. But in general, you've got a staff, and they're doing most of the work. You say, I need this, I need that. They do a ton of work, and they bring it. It's pretty obvious that it's important that the staff can continue working after there's a vacancy. They do important things for their community. I really don't like probably 80% of everything that you guys do is somehow twisted to totally screw us. But occasionally, just to hold up a good face, you do have to do some things like keep the streets from having potholes, or the sewage from overflowing, and now evidently you want to charge us a fee for trash. That's never happened in my lifetime. Boy, is that negligent, but we'll go into that later. But anyway, so yeah, obviously it's important that the staff continues working for the area, even if the supervisor is gone.
Thank you. Now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. We'll begin with our first caller.
Yeah, Paula Bold. The proposed change to Rule 5 says a majority of the board may vote to remove any officer of the board at any time. I'm guessing you mean remove from his or her position as chair, vice chair, or chair pro tem, as opposed to removing him or her from the board, throwing her out the window, or whatever. The rule should make this clear. The language of Rule 5 resolution needs to be changed to reflect this. And maybe you should just, put them in the corner on a stool or something. Into your corner! That might be more effective. But, all this would do is increase factionalism and contention between Republicans and Democrats, although you should all really legally be nonpartisan. In fact, my suggestion is that any incoming supervisor should be registered to vote as nonpartisan and not serve on any partisan political board. And speaking of revising rules, you should make harassment or mistreatment of persons, like Mary Davis, in this building illegal. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Stephanie Becker. You definitely need some rules and regulations on that board. You need to fill that vacancy, and with the special election, there's not much more choice other than more of all of you. The D1 has been neglected and unserved. I can't even say underserved. They have been unserved. D4 is neglected and unserved. D4 only cares about the tiny homes. This supervisor is so focused, we even heard her say, that Spring Valley will get a sidewalk. Well, it's not Spring Valley getting a sidewalk, and the Spring Valley side of this project is not getting a sidewalk. So we need a chairwoman who is going to put them into some kind of consensus where you care for the people, not your party. We need to care for the taxpayers, not the illegals. We need to have some respect coming from that board where you actually look at us and acknowledge us and not just acknowledge what you want to eat, what's going on your phone. We need a board of supervisors working for the people.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Hey, did you guys have time to read the paper? I mean, I saw her hand you the document for the public comment that was listed in there. But, you know, I understand that you don't think that you need to listen to the people. I mean, because clearly the advocacy groups are committing registration voter fraud.
Can you please state
I'm
your
getting
name?
a list of... Oh, Justin Castro, don't you know?
Thank you.
I mean, you want to go ahead and cut down my time, it's okay, but I'm not talking about the topic at hand, which clearly is in violation of your rules. But for some reason, you're not going ahead and enforcing that rule with me. Why is that? Why is that? I'm asking that question. No comment? How about if I told you that when I asked you that question and your lawyer provided me the answer, the county lawyer, they could have given me 2 election codes that would have shut me up. I told Heidi that they could have gave me an answer to shut me up. That would be showing that Cynthia is looking for voter fraud. But she isn't. That's right, huh? You guys catalog every single registration card that goes to organizations. You should have done a 5% check on that. Both of those 2 things is in the election law that Cynthia chose not to follow, according to the lawyers for the county that had a discussion with Cynthia about this. So you all know that we're not looking for voter fraud. You know that. The lawyers know that. The lawyers are trying to go ahead and stop the people from exposing that. So my question, and they're getting paid a lot more money because they're being successful. Isn't that right? You got a humongous raise. What about all the other workers because funds are cut? They're not going to get a raise like you did. Isn't that right? You're just...
Thank you. And I'll hear from the next caller.
Hey there, Truth. So let's see. The supervisors who have repeatedly no-showed Sandag meetings are going to amend rules on vacancies. The usual county hypocrisy. And these 2 special elections did not happen due to extended vacancies. They happened because the county experienced extended corruption. Corruption that every supervisor allows. You guys refused to even censure Tara for all the time she was late, left early, or no-showed these meetings. So how would you even begin to consider the removal of a so-called board officer? Then the sign talks about district staff being able to keep their jobs temporarily. Is this not what already occurred? Did you guys fire people immediately? Is that what you're saying? And why would this transition job be thrown onto the clerk rather than onto HR or something? A temporary office administrator for a corrupt-led former supervisor's office makes sense, but how much would that role cost? Who would take that new job? What are the qualifications? Without such details, there's no plan, just like how you guys usually operate. Hence how we got here, and why this entire board needs to be removed immediately, especially political theaterist Tara the terrorist. And I do want to comment on how there's no rules for decorum even. If you guys can't even adhere to being civil to those you complain about, then how can you be qualified to decide who should be on the board or who shouldn't be on the board all of a sudden? Just amazing hypocrisy. And I do want, since it was mentioned, really great comments about the lack of service for District 1 and even District 4. Everyone should know that Paloma Aguirre, running for D1 supervisor, is an ally of Tara and Monica. So you can expect probably something a little better, but much the same, because she even commented that $10 million lost should have gone to things like the sleeping cabin. She wouldn't have lost it under her watch. Yeah, we got a serious problem with you guys. So.
Thank you. Now hear from the final caller.
Amen to that. Anyways, it's Consuelo here, and I just kind of wanted to address the fact that, yeah, the District 1 seat needs to be filled, and not by people who, slinging mud at each other, fighting dirty. I know you haven't officially endorsed her yet, Tara. Straight from the horse's mouth, I've not yet been endorsed by Tara, but we know you back her up, girl. We know it because I have all these freaking advertisements, so much for being green, huh? Have to throw all this shit away. But yeah, the fact that it's Channel 10, all the same people who love you, Tara, giving you that good airtime, fulfill agendas, not for the people. SOS, same old haka. Yeah, whatever. It doesn't even matter. Whatever you guys are going to vote on today, it really is just more of the same. So, yep. More theater. Theater. And no data. Data. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you very much. Supervisor Anderson, if you'd like to make a motion for your own item, I'm happy to second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I neglected to say that. Wrong button. I hit the speak button. Let me stop that. Thank you. So moved.
Okay, great. I'm happy to second. I completely agree. I think this is a very important job of codifying practice that has been employed for the last couple years, but it's much better to have an official policy that makes sure that everyone is treated equally and fairly and the same, and we all know what to expect. So I appreciate that Andrew has stepped into the breach in the absence of such a policy, and I appreciate Supervisor Anderson bringing this forward to clarify and codify what's already happening, and I think is the right approach moving forward. So happy to second. Any comments from Supervisor Montgomery Steppe or Supervisor Desmond? Okay, then we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We will take an hour lunch. We will convene at 1 o'clock. Thank you.